My younger sister is an influencer with a baby face, and at 22, she's still buying children's clothes. When asked her age, she replies, "Baby is 8 years old today. I warned her not to infantilize herself, or she might attract the wrong kind of attention." She didn't listen. In fact, to chase clout, she even secretly wore her niece's school uniform. This led to an 8-year-old child being targeted by a predator and brutally murdered. Out of fear, she deleted her social media accounts. But then, youthful aesthetics suddenly became all the rage, and influencers who imitated her used their innocent, harmless image to climb the social ladder. Neglecting her self-care, she could never go back to how she was before. She resents me for stealing her chance to marry into wealth. If you hadn't caused my panic, this life would have been mine. Aesthetic taste is a matter of personal freedom. Who are you to judge me? In her rage, she strangled me to death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my little sister stole my niece's school uniform. 1. Sis, how old do I look today? Hearing my sister Lulu's sweet, babyish voice, I jolted awake. Lulu, with her hair in twin tails, was pouting. She was lying amidst a pile of plush toys, constantly striking poses for selfies. When I saw her wearing my grandniece's school uniform, my breath caught in my throat. I could barely hold back the tears. In the previous life, it was because Lulu stole and wore Zoe's school uniform, posting it on social media, that she caused her 8-year-old niece to be targeted by a pervert with a specific fetish. When she was found, she was lying in a desolate wilderness, barely clothed. Her body was covered in mottled marks. When the criminal was apprehended, he admitted that he had targeted Zoe after seeing the photos Lulu posted on social media. Lulu, who had always championed the freedom to dress, finally got scared and deleted her account overnight. But not long after, the youthful aesthetic trend suddenly blew up. An influencer who copied her style even married into a wealthy family. Meanwhile, she neglected her self-care and could never go back to how she was. She blamed all of this on me. If you hadn't kept saying that I indirectly caused Zoe's death, that my way of dressing invited trouble, I wouldn't have had to delete my account. You ruined my life. She was so enraged that she slipped sleeping pills into my milk and then strangled me to death. I never imagined I'd be reborn. I fought back the urge to cry. In this life, I will protect Zoe properly. And as for Lulu, who's obsessed with that infantilized aesthetic, without me to talk sense into her, I'm curious to see just what kind of end she'll meet this time. 2. This outfit is unacceptable, I said sharply. Why not? I think Zoe's clothes suit me just fine. Zoe was only in 2nd grade. Logically, there was no way Lulu, a grown adult, could fit into her clothes, yet. In her obsession to wear children's clothing, she had starved herself down to under 80 pounds, despite being 5'3". On top of her long history of cosmetic surgery, she deliberately mimics a baby's gurgling voice. If you didn't know her age, you'd genuinely think she was still a minor, but she's already 22. Seeing that I stayed silent, Lulu instinctively resorted to her usual coquettish act. Sis, don't I look like a baby? Suppressing the urge to strangle her, I offered an objective critique. Zoe's school uniform isn't very nice. If you want to wear one, I'll buy you a nicer one online. Lulu blinked, looking puzzled. Sis, you've always hated my fashion sense. Why are you suddenly offering to buy me clothes today? Then, as if struck by a thought, she accused angrily. Was it Zoe who told you I can't wear her uniform? That stingy bitch. She eats our food, lives in our house, and she's gonna nickel and dime me over a piece of clothing. I winced uncomfortably at the way Lulu referred to Zoe. Zoe is our cousin's daughter. Her parents, our cousin and her husband, died in a car accident when she was 3, so my mother took her in. Ever since Zoe first moved into our home, Lulu took an inexplicable dislike to her niece. In my past life, I never understood why. Not until the moment I accused her of causing Zoe's death, she sneered coldly. What does that have to do with me? Blame her own face for being so bewitching. Zoe looked just like her cousin, and from the day she was born, she was as exquisite as a porcelain doll. It was then that I realized, with a shock, that Lulu's face was becoming more and more like Zoe's. At some point, Lulu had started getting plastic surgery, using Zoe's face as a model. I felt a wave of disgust. I never imagined Lulu's mind was so twisted that she would be jealous of an 8-year-old child. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. Lulu, this has nothing to do with Zoe. I genuinely think it doesn't look good. If you don't trust my taste, then go ahead and post the picture. I said that on purpose because Lulu hates it more than anything when someone says she looks bad. Sure enough, she began to hesitate, biting her lower lip in distress. But I promised my followers I'd post a photo today, and there's nothing new left in my closet. Lulu is the type who would never wear the same outfit twice for a photo shoot. I thought for a moment. Go pick something from my closet. She paused for a moment, then let out a scornful laugh, her face full of disdain. Sis, with the way you dress so frumpy every day, how could you possibly have clothes that would suit me? Anyone hearing that would think I'm in my 40s or 50s, but in reality, I'm only 6 years older than Lulu. It's just that she's always looked down on my sense of style. She's into that pure yet seductive style of children's clothing, a tight top, a flouncy miniskirt that barely covers anything, and white tights are her signature look. Sis, this is called milk spicy style. An old woman like you wouldn't get it, she said smugly. Truth be told, my wardrobe would never normally contain the kind of clothes she loves, but then I remembered the gift box from my ex-boyfriend that I'd apparently forgotten to throw out, still sitting in there. A faint smile touched my lips. Why don't you go take a look first? You never know. You might find something you like. 3. I sat in the living room watching TV, letting Lulu rummage through my cabinets. In less than 5 minutes, she came out excitedly, clutching the gift box. Whoa, sis, you had something this good all along, and it's still brand new. I smiled without a trace of emotion. My little sister never fails to live up to my expectations. It was a pink maid outfit, perfectly suited to her taste. Sis, this dress doesn't suit you anyway. You're too old to pull it off. Why not just give it to me? If you like it, you can have it. You're the best, sis, Lulu said excitedly before rushing to her room to change and start taking photos. The sound of a key turning in the lock came from the door. It was Zoe. Just back from school, seeing her standing there safe and sound in front of me, I couldn't hold back my tears. Zoe, Auntie, why are you crying? She ran over and wiped the tears from my face. Only then did I feel the tangible reality of being reborn. Lulu stopped wearing Zoe's school uniform. Fate must have shifted in unseen ways, but I still can't afford to let my guard down. I took out my phone and saw the photo Lulu had just posted online, with the caption, "Baby is 8 years old today." Her youthful face paired with that maid outfit was both innocent and sexy. It didn't take long to get a ton of positive reviews. She's so beautiful. She doesn't look 8. She looks 3. The outfit is super cute. I want to buy the same one. Women who are pale, young, and thin are still the most attractive. Lulu always feels happy when she sees these comments, even though there are still plenty of vile people asking below, how much for a night? Are you really underage? In the same city? Looking to connect, she didn't see anything wrong with it at all. In fact, she took it as a sign of her own charm. Little did she know, this was the beginning of her descent into the abyss. For Lulu's at it again, and it hasn't even been a quiet week. She sauntered over to me in her new outfit. Sis, you haven't forgotten about taking my photos at the amusement park today, right? If you haven't forgotten, then why didn't you wish your baby a happy Children's Day? Yeah. My 22-year-old sister still insists on celebrating Children's Day. I tried to explain to her that Children's Day is meant for kids under 14. She gave me an annoyed look and said, "You're such a stick in the mud. Stop reminding me about my age. No matter how old I get, even at 70 or 80, I'll always be a kid at heart who wants to celebrate. So, come to the amusement park with me today and take some pictures for me." She was insistent. Lulu never had many friends growing up. After high school, she stopped her education. Whenever she was told to get a job and engage with society, she'd just play cute. Have you ever seen a baby who has to be the breadwinner? My mom doesn't rein her in either, so she spends all day surfing the web at home, happily living in a virtual world, and apart from online friends. I'm the only person around her age she can really talk to. I shook my head. No. I have to take Zoe to her tutoring class, after what happened in my past life. I have PTSD now. I can't feel at ease letting her do anything alone, at least not at this stage. Lulu pouted. She's not a child anymore. What's the big deal if she goes to school by herself? I drank my porridge with a blank expression. You're 22, not a child anymore. What's the big deal about going to the amusement park by yourself? The next second, her eyes welled up with hurt. Can't be scolded, can't be criticized. If she's ever unhappy, my mom will step in to help her. Olivia. You go with your sister. It's a holiday today. I'll take Zoe. I scoffed. Mom had pretty much ignored Zoe since she came to live with us. I'm the one who raised her. It's a rare occasion that you're willing to put in the effort. I was about to refuse, but then I remembered the scene of Lulu throwing a tantrum at the amusement park entrance in her past life, and I changed my mind. All right, I'll go with her. For no other reason than to see the show. 5. Lulu skipped along happily as she followed me out the door. She wore a short white lace dress that revealed a glimpse of her cleavage. On her head was a matching lace hairband, and she carried a little bear backpack. Tada, sis, am I cute or what? She suddenly hopped in front of me and gave me a wink. Adorable, I said with a forced smile. I didn't want to say too much, or she'd get upset again. Mom gets half the credit for how Lulu turned out, and Dad gets the other half of the blame. After he had an affair and found a younger, more beautiful woman, my mother's personality changed completely. That was right after she had given birth to Lulu. She began instilling in her, from a very young age, the idea that a woman's worth lies in being young and beautiful. Under the warped influence of my mother's teachings and growing up in an environment devoid of a father's love, Lulu ended up taking the extreme path of infantilizing herself, but my mom was quite pleased with her handiwork. A fair number of children celebrating the holiday had gathered at the entrance to the amusement park. She stepped in among them, then turned and asked me, "Sis, do I look about the same age as them?" My heart sank. This familiar scene, even experiencing it again, made my vision go dark. Sure enough, the very next second, she made the same unreasonable demand as in our past life. "Sis, I want to buy a child's ticket too." And at that moment, all I wanted was to take her to get a disability certificate, if being brain dead counts as a disability, that is, 6. In a past life, Lulu insisted on buying a child's ticket to get into the park, just to prove whether she really looked underage. But you need an ID to get in. The ticket checker will compare your face to the photo on the ID before letting you through. Without a second thought, she said, "Just use Zoe's. I look pretty similar to her now, don't I?" I refused. And she immediately started crying, yelling, and throwing a tantrum. "I want a child's ticket, and that's final." The surrounding tourists, not understanding the situation, came over to persuade me, "Young lady, just buy your little sister a ticket." In the end, I was too embarrassed, so I had to use Zoe's ID to buy her a child's ticket. I still remember when Lulu used Zoe's ID to get into the park. The old ticket collector at the gate looked at the ID, then gave her a thorough once-over from head to toe. The man's lecherous gaze finally settled on Lulu's chest. "Tisk, only 8 years old and already so well developed." "Huh." Lulu grinned triumphantly. She leaned in and whispered in my ear, "Huh, we really fooled him. So I really do look like I'm only 8 years old." I told her that men are creatures who think with their lower half. If you dress like that, they'll believe anything you say. My point was that she shouldn't always act like a baby. She shouldn't take every compliment at face value, or she'll end up fooling herself instead of anyone else. But she completely misunderstood. "Oh, really? That means my outfit is working perfectly. I know all about it. It's called getting by on cuteness." Me, this is clearly beyond saving. When kids mess up, they can be forgiven and avoid taking responsibility. A little pout or a cute act can even get them rewards. So Lulu is fundamentally unwilling to grow up, but can someone really get by on just being cute for their whole life? 7. "Sis, hurry up and get Zoe's ID card out." She was excited and eager to give it a try, but I won't let her steal Zoe's information again. "I didn't bring it." "I don't believe you." She suddenly reached out and tried to snatch it, but what strength could her frail little frame possibly have? After struggling in vain for what felt like ages, she just stared helplessly, looking as if she might burst into tears any second. "Sis, I just want to go to the amusement park. Why won't you buy me a ticket?" She aired her grievances loudly, deliberately drawing the attention of nearby tourists. Just like in our past life, she knew I was thin-skinned and wanted to pressure me into buying her a ticket by putting me on the spot. But I had long since come to my senses. It wasn't me who should be embarrassed, so why should I feel ashamed? I simply let her carry on with her scene. Soon, several parents came over to reason with me. "It's a holiday, just indulge the child. It's only a child's ticket. This is my sister, she's 22. They were instantly speechless and then wordlessly backed away. My sister cried even harder when she heard me mention her real age in public. That was until an older woman came up and scolded me, "Can you control your kid? All that wailing is giving me a headache. Children need to be taught, not spoiled. It's obvious your family has ruined this one." I nodded in agreement. "You're absolutely right, Auntie. I don't know how to raise a child. Why don't you teach me?" The auntie snorted. "It's simple. A good beating will sort out any disobedience." "Oh, really?" Smack. I slapped Lulu across the face. She froze, startled into a milky hiccup, and stopped crying. "Sis, did you just hit me?" She stared at me in disbelief. After all, this was probably the first time she'd ever been hit in her life. "Have you calmed down now?" I asked. Instead, she started crying even harder, as if she'd suffered the greatest injustice. Slap, slap, slap. I landed blow after blow. "I'll stop when you stop crying. If throwing a tantrum is a child's privilege, then disciplining my own child is mine." Not a single person around tried to intervene. After 6 or 7 slaps, Lulu finally stopped her tantrum. Glaring at me with red, furious eyes, I pulled out the adult ticket I'd bought earlier. "Are we still going or not? If not, we're going home." Gritting her teeth and wiping away her tears, she obediently followed me into the park. A good spanking always does the trick. 8. Once inside the park, I avoid all the rides. It's all for the photos anyway. The kind of photos she wanted to take were just as hard to describe as she is. In a past life, I wasn't very cooperative with her photo requests. I refused to shoot a lot of her tacky poses, which ruined the final results. After she posted them online and got a ton of hate, she blamed it all on me. She apologized to netizens in the comments section. "Wah, I'm so sorry to all my lovely fans. My sister took this. She's very conservative and wouldn't let me do this or that." Then she tagged my account. "This is my sister. Everyone, if you're going to be mad, be mad at her. And if you scold her, you're not allowed to scold me anymore, okay?" Countless fans flooded my profile to attack me. At first, they stuck to the issue at hand, but then they started critiquing my looks. In the end, they even doxed the company I work for. Oh, you work in finance. That explains it. The look and the outfit totally fit the stereotype I have of that industry. Looks about 30 and I heard they're still not married. What a failure of a life. It even attracted a bunch of guys sliding into my DMs. If no one else wants you at 30, I'll take you. I like your type, wanna be friends. I was at my wit's end. In this lifetime, I won't interfere no matter what outrageous thing she does. She started on the merry-go-round, but instead of sitting properly, she insisted on kneeling on the horse with her knees splayed wide apart, as if she had no common sense. They were told off by staff several times but wouldn't listen. Bought an ice cream just as a prop for photos, didn't eat it. Just smeared a bit around the mouth, after all. A kid with a messy face after eating is pretty standard. Upon seeing a cute mascot in the park, they immediately demanded to be held, and insisted on being carried like a princess. Ended up in the kids' zone, hugging the slide for a full half hour just to get the perfect shot, basically muscling in on the little one's turf. No matter how she took the photos, she was never satisfied. So she took her frustration out on the children waiting to use the slide. A 3-year-old boy politely went up and asked how much longer she would be. She gave him an impatient shove, causing him to fall and hit the back of his head, unfortunately, right onto a nail on the ground. Blood immediately began to flow. The boy's parents instantly surrounded her, preventing her from leaving. Only then did Lulu panic, instinctively shifting her pleading gaze toward me. I shrugged my shoulders. Why are you looking at me? They're an actual child. You're just acting like one. It's not like you're underage. You can go to the police station by yourself later. 9. Fortunately, the child wasn't seriously injured, but the other parents were furious and demanded Lulu pay 100,000 in compensation. The boy's father was a thug, and he threatened to beat Lulu to a pulp, or worse, if she didn't pay up. My mother rushed over to me in a panic. Olivia, you have to save your sister. You can't just stand by and watch her ruin her life. I just smiled and said, Mom, that's her life. What does it have to do with me? My mom immediately turned the tables and accused me. How can you be so selfish? Hearing that, I just wanted to laugh. How does she even have the nerve to call me selfish? The brutal death of Zoe in her past life didn't cause a single ripple in my mom's or Lulu's hearts. It was as if someone completely insignificant had died. When I accused Lulu of causing Zoe's death by stealing her school uniform, my mom turned on me instead. It was just a uniform. How can you possibly blame Lulu for that? Even if what you say is true and Zoe died in Lulu's place, shouldn't you, as the older sister, be happy about it? Happy? I thought I must have misheard. To my surprise, my mother answered as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Yes, otherwise, your sister would have been the one to suffer. Besides, with that Zoe girl always hanging around you, what if it affected your chances of getting married, now that she's gone? It's actually for the best. In that moment, it was as if I didn't even know my own mother. I gave a cold laugh. Back then, it was just a case of not feeling the pain because the whip hadn't struck her. Now, with just a bit of money on the line, my mother was already panicking. It's not that I don't want to help, I said with a faint sigh, pulling up the stock page I had prepared in advance. See, all the money I've earned over the years is gone. Some of that money was actually borrowed. My mom was stunned. She doesn't understand stocks, so she'd never realized this interface was just something a friend whipped up for me. I tried to squeeze out a couple of remorseful tears. I didn't want you to worry about me, so I never brought it up. It took her a long moment to find her voice. Don't you still have that apartment? Maybe you should sell it. I knew she'd set her sights on my place. I switched to the chat app to show her the conversation history. See, I couldn't pay back the money, so I had to put the house up as collateral with a friend. They're just letting me stay there for now. And that's just with a friend, who's easier to deal with. I also owe money to a few less savory individuals. Who knows if they'll come knocking. The stock portfolio page was fake, and the chat logs with my friend were naturally fabricated too. If it comes to it, I can even get a crew to show up and put on a whole debt collection act for me. I gave a little laugh. Mom, how about you help me pay off the debt? She took a sip of water, her eyes darting away. What do your debts have to do with me? Besides, where would an old woman like me get that kind of money? But I knew she had a nest egg saved up for herself. She would never normally touch it, but I guess she had no choice this time to bail Lulu out. Here's my mom at home, worried sick about her, while over there, Lulu is acting like nothing's wrong, even right after getting out of the police station. The first thing they did was post a selfie online. Went to the police station. The officer saw I was a minor and let me go. Me, small, helpless, and pitiful. Waiting online for a kind soul to take me home. 10. After my sister came back, my mom kicked me out, complaining the house was too crowded. I know she was just afraid my creditors would come knocking. When I had money, they begged me in every way to come back and live at home, for no other reason than this. If I was home, I'd be the one footing all the household bills. If it weren't for the fact that Zoe's school is so close by, I really wouldn't want to live here every day. That very night, I packed our things and left with Zoe. I took the back door. That path is usually pretty quiet. As soon as I stepped outside, I saw Lulu coming back from her appointment at the beauty salon. There seemed to be a man following about 5 meters behind, but I couldn't make out his face at all, because the only streetlight on this road was the one at the entrance to our complex. I was about to take a closer look, but before I could, Zoe, quick as ever, called out from a distance in her clear, bright voice, "Auntie." Lulu ignored it, but the person behind her suddenly stopped. He seemed to glance in our direction, then abruptly turned and walked away. I had this uneasy feeling the whole time, right up until Lulu came closer. I glanced at her, completely absorbed in her phone. "Was that guy behind you following you just now?" Lulu scrolled through her phone, completely unfazed. "Probably. He's been tailing me since I left the salon. Might be a fan." Her mind was clearly elsewhere, as she started complaining to me with a sigh, "Sis, I'm thinking about getting cosmetic surgery again." She took out her phone to show me. "A netizen just told me my teeth aren't nice. I don't want square teeth, sis. I want to get them shaped into an oval. And another thing, I've noticed my hairline is receding too." As she said this, her gaze remained fixed on Zoe, as if studying her face for ideas on what else she could tweak. As for why she told me, she just wanted me to foot the bill for her cosmetic procedures. Even though Lulu is an influencer, she publicly claims to be underage. That's why no company dared to sign her. After all, her photos were too suggestive. If she really was underage, it would be a disaster. No company was willing to take that risk. She cared more about her image in the eyes of others than about making money. But if she didn't earn money, my mom couldn't afford her lifestyle. I used to be the one they could leech off. But that's over now. If Lulu keeps pestering for plastic surgery, she'll probably drain my mom's life savings. Who knows if her little one will be willing to support my mom in her old age. 11. After moving back to my own place, with Lulu no longer around, I enjoyed a good stretch of peace and quiet. Yet, I couldn't help but think of the man I saw that night. I suspect he's the one who harmed Zoe in her past life. I started keeping a constant watch over Zoe, even signing her up for a weekend boxing class. While it might not be much use to her now, she'd still be defenseless against a real adult threat. It at least gives her the courage to stand up to bullies her own age. Frailty and petite stature are stereotypes imposed on women by the outside world, yet women are clearly capable of immense strength. But Lulu, she would never understand that. The immaturity and weakness she idolizes will one day come back to haunt her. I just never thought this day would come so soon. Mom was sobbing uncontrollably on the phone. "Olivia, come to the hospital. Quick, something's happened to Lulu." 12. In the hospital room, Lulu was covered in injuries. She stared blankly at the ceiling, unresponsive to anyone who tried to speak to her. My mother wept beside her. "Why did this have to happen to my baby girl? It's not fair. She was perfectly fine. Why did they have to target her, lying in the hospital bed?" Lulu suddenly shifted her gaze to me upon hearing those words. "I know it's all my sister's fault. She's the reason I'm being stalked." She grew more agitated as she spoke. "That man keeps watch over my photo every day. He said he's been watching me for a long time. As for when she was discovered, it goes without saying. It was the day we went to the amusement park. Some of her outrageous antics there were caught on camera by netizens and posted online, not to mention, she even took a selfie right in front of the police station. It was only natural someone would track her down, and yet, she went and blamed me for it all over again. If you hadn't stopped me from wearing Zoe's uniform that day, maybe you wouldn't have targeted me. Maybe then, it wouldn't have been me who had to go through this." She let out a hysterical laugh. After laughing for a long while, she suddenly fell silent and looked at me, as if remembering something. "Oh, right, sis. You probably haven't heard yet. That monster, he got away." As she spoke, her tone lifted slightly, carrying a strange, inexplicable note of joy. But why would she feel joyful? A wave of inexplicable fear welled up from the depths of my heart, and my first instinct was to go find Zoe. Only by seeing her could I feel a little more at ease. I never want to go through a tragedy like that again. I turned and ran for the door, but my mother quickly grabbed my arm. "Hey, don't go. You can't just leave after what you did to your sister. Don't you think you should make it up to her? The recovery, both physical and mental, is going to cost a lot of money, so you're really out of options." I shrugged with a wry smile. "Mom, what can I do? I can barely keep my own head above water. Maybe you could mortgage the house to pay for Lulu's rehab." She shook her head disapprovingly. "And how would we pay it back?" I glanced over at Lulu in the hospital bed. "Well, there's still my little sister, isn't there? Mom, being an influencer pays really well. It's not like she's actually underage. What she could earn in a single month might even surpass her entire lifetime of a dead-end salary." Hearing me say that, my mom's eyes lit up, and I had my own agenda. The only reason my mother agreed to adopt Zoe back then was because of the sizable sum of money my cousin left behind. That money was supposed to be Zoe's upbringing fund, but in reality, it all went toward Lulu's plastic surgery. Since Lulu won't earn the money herself, how am I supposed to get it back for Zoe? 13. I only felt a sense of relief after seeing Zoe at school. Zoe looked slightly surprised. Auntie, why are you here so early today? You're sweating so much. Did you run all the way here? Then she took out a tissue and wiped the sweat from my face. I said to her with deep sincerity, Zoe, from now on, no matter who wants to take you away, don't go with them unless it's me, your aunt. Do you understand? Just wait patiently at school. No matter what happens, I will always come to pick you up, okay? But please don't run here next time. It's too tiring for you. I smiled. In this family, Zoe was the only one who truly cared about me. To my mom and Lulu, I'm just a compliant tool they can leech off of. Thinking about Lulu's odd behavior at the hospital today, I can't help but feel a twinge of worry. In the previous life, the perpetrator killed Zoe to silence her after the assault, yet in this life, Lulu survived despite having no one to rescue her. When something seems off, there's always a reason. I won't have a moment's peace until that criminal is caught. A few days later, Lulu was discharged from the hospital. When I went to see her, I realized she was more concerned about her appearance than whether the criminal was caught. Her only worry was whether her face and body could ever return to how they were, but that would require a significant sum of money. She had no choice but to sign the contract with the company. I was the one who accompanied her to prepare all the paperwork for the signing, and the idea I gave her actually ended up being a big help. With the backing of a legitimate company, her fan base has been growing steadily. Her style remains consistently youthful and childlike, however. Actual minors posting suggestive content online will only attract men who don't even bother to hide their intentions. In contrast, women who appear underage but are actually adults tend to attract men who at least put on a facade of respectability, and Jensen, a wealthy second-generation heir, was one of them. He first followed her publicly online with great fanfare, then slid into her DMs to get her contact info. Lulu had been feeling down every day and was often plagued by insomnia. But Jensen's arrival completely cured her of that mental and emotional exhaustion. Therapy hadn't helped her, but Jensen's appearance instantly gave her a new lease on life. When I saw her again, she was a completely new person, decked out in luxury goods. Even my mother was beaming with joy, and she specifically called Zoe and me home for a meal. Lulu ran her fingers over her jewelry and said, "Sis, Jensen gave me all of this. Bet you didn't expect this." Even after going through something so painful, I'm still doing just fine. After all, Jensen still thinks he was my first. He says he's going to take good care of me. She gave me a knowing smile. With today's technology, it's frighteningly easy to make something fake look real. My sister was right about one thing. Men really do think with their dicks. He'll believe anything I tell him, as long as you keep your mouth shut. We're family. We rise and fall together. You understand that, right? So that's why she called me home, to threaten me. To be honest, I wasn't planning on doing anything. She's already paid the price she deserved, but it wasn't long before a new private message popped up on my Weibo. It was just one line: "You're pretty strict with your little niece." Before I could even reply, they sent over a spreadsheet. It documented our daily movements, mine and Zoe's, down to the minute. He was making it clear that nothing we did escaped his notice. A cold sweat broke out on my skin. 14. I filed a report at the police station. The police said they would send someone to protect me. I thought about that night under the streetlight. I was exposed in the light, while he was hidden in the shadows. He must have noticed Zoe at that moment. Logically speaking, he shouldn't know the address of my new place. Since I moved out, I've only been back to see Lulu once, and that was just last week. While I can't rule out the possibility that he started tailing me that day, the start date recorded on the form he gave me was just a few days after Lulu was admitted to the hospital. For some reason, I can't shake the feeling that Lulu is somehow involved in all this, but I have no proof. After much thought, I decided to test the waters. I created a new Weibo account to message Lulu privately, as I wasn't sure what they had talked about before. After a moment's hesitation, I tentatively sent a message: "Hey sis, I haven't even gotten over you yet. How come you already have a boyfriend?" I knew Lulu would see it. She never misses anyone's DMs. Sure enough, Lulu replied that evening. Even though I already knew she was rotten to the core, seeing her message with my own eyes still made me sick to my stomach. "Didn't I already tell you to go after my niece? I even gave you the address. Why are you going back on your word?" So, Lulu managed to dodge a bullet from that creep by cutting a deal. No wonder she couldn't care less about whether he got caught. I can't just sit around and take this anymore. I'm going on the offensive, but I need an opening. 15. The opportunity came a week later. For Lulu's birthday, Jensen booked out an entire floor of a luxury hotel for her celebration. While I was helping Lulu pick out a dress, she casually invited me. "Hey sis, I hope you can make it that day. But I'd really prefer if you didn't bring Zoe." Lulu didn't give a reason. But just looking at her face, I could guess, she and Zoe look way too much alike these days. I thought it over, feeling conflicted, and said hesitantly, what if I don't bring her to the party itself? I could book a room for her downstairs, and she can just hang out there by herself. Don't worry, she won't be any trouble for your birthday celebration. Lulu paused in thought for a moment, then nodded. All right then. The day before the birthday party, I sent Lulu a private message, pretending to be that man. Tomorrow is our best chance. You have to help me, otherwise, I'll ruin you at the party tomorrow. Lulu replied to the message shortly after. I'll help you. Her birthday arrived soon enough. I bought Zoe a dress identical to Lulu's, slipped a coat over it for her, and then we set off for the hotel. I got 2 room keys from the front desk, dropped Zoe off in the room, and then headed to the banquet hall. The crowd tonight was all Jensen's rich kid friends, along with some trending online influencers and a few minor celebrities whose names I couldn't even recall. Lulu, having had a few drinks, was clinging to Jensen's side like a delicate little bird. When she saw me arrive, she approached with her glass in hand, putting on a sweet, pleading act. Hey, which room is Zoe in? I think I'm getting a little tipsy, sweetie. Could you give me the key card later so I can go down and rest for a bit? Didn't Jensen get you a room? Her face flushed as she whispered. He did, but sweetie, I reek of alcohol. I want to clean myself up first before going. Jensen, he's a bit of a neat freak. All right then, but you won't have long to rest. You need to be back up by 11:55. I reminded her as I handed over the room key, because in half an hour, at midnight, she would come up to cut the cake and celebrate her happiest 23rd birthday. After Lulu left the banquet hall, I received a private message from her on Weibo, room 1205. Come quickly, 16, at 11:50. A 10-tier cake was wheeled out. Jensen even arranged for a Disney performance. The whole scene looked incredibly dreamy and magical. I took out my phone, snapped a picture of the scene, and sent it to Lulu. Where are you? Everyone's waiting for you. But the guest of honor herself was nowhere to be seen. At 11:55, I asked Jensen, want to go find Lulu and bring her up? Jensen paused in thought for a moment, then followed me downstairs. I got the front desk to swipe open the door to room 1205 for me. In that instant, everyone at the doorway was stunned. Inside were sounds of paint groans, scattered clothing, and the faint scent of blood. From our vantage point, we had a clear view of Lulu's face. Jensen was frozen in shock, and the man in the room bolted out the moment he saw us, unfortunately. The police arrived at that very moment. Jensen, sweetheart, it hurts so much. Lulu weakly reached out a pleading hand toward Jensen. Jensen took a sharp step backward. Lulu looked at me pleadingly again. I glanced at the time. It was exactly midnight. Happy birthday, I said to her with a blank expression. I wondered if she had seen the photo I just sent her, but from this moment on, her life would be just like that photo. Happiness was right there in front of her, yet it remained just out of reach. 17. After Lulu was taken to the hospital, I went to the next room and found Zoe. She was lying in bed with my best friend, watching a variety show. My best friend booked this room. After getting the key card for room 1205 from the front desk, I made it look like I was going into 1205, but I actually entered 1206. I put the key card for 1205 in Zoe's bag, and before going into the room, I took her to the beach outside the hotel to splash around in the waves for a bit. The bag was just sitting there on the beach, so then, I dropped Zoe off at her best friend's place. Lulu asked me for the room key, so I gave it to her. If I hadn't, who knows what kind of scene she would have made. I can't say for sure what's going to happen, but I know that Creep is definitely going to make a move today, because I, for once, posted a Weibo update yesterday. You got a rat, only brave enough to watch me from the shadows. I won't give you a single chance to strike. I deliberately provoked him with my words. It was a risk, but I knew if he saw Zoe entering the room alone, he wouldn't pass up such a golden opportunity. So, right after Lulu took my keycard and went downstairs, I called the police, just in case he tried to run. I even had a friend who knows martial arts book the room opposite 1205 to keep watch for me around the clock. By the time Lulu was taken to the hospital, she was barely clinging to life when the monster saw us. He thought it was a trap she had set, and he stabbed her viciously in the abdomen. I wonder if, in that moment, she wished she could muster even a shred of strength to push him away, but she was too frail, like a fish on the chopping block. Even her feeble attempts to struggle seemed utterly futile. 18. Thanks to the prompt medical attention, her life was saved. The first thing Lulu did when she woke up was look for Jensen. She sent Jensen a message through her tears. Jensen, aren't you even going to come see the baby? Baby, I miss you. Jensen blocked her outright. She started calling him relentlessly again. It wasn't until the day she was discharged from the hospital that Jensen finally showed up, but he didn't come up. It was his new girlfriend who did. I heard she's a cool girl who studied Taekwondo. Nothing like Lulu at all. Lulu bristled the moment she saw her. And you are, Iris smiled. Haven't you seen the news? Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Jensen's girlfriend, Lulu exploded. Impossible, Jensen would never leave me, he said he'd marry me. Who the hell do you think you are, you old hag? Slap, a sharp, satisfying slap echoed through the hospital room. Didn't anyone teach you how to speak properly? How dare you hit? Smack, stunned by the blow, she flew into a rage. I'll fight you to the death. Lulu reached out to grab her hair, but Iris simply caught her slender arm with one hand, twisted it behind her back with effortless ease. Ah, that hurts. Tears welled up in Lulu's eyes from the pain. Outmatched in a fight, she could only resort to hurling insults. Who are you, really? You can't be Jensen's girlfriend. Who could ever like someone as uncouth as you? Iris laughed. Just then, her phone rang. With one hand pinning Lulu down, she answered on speakerphone, and Jensen's smooth, magnetic voice came through. How much longer? Soon. His voice was cold. Don't waste our time on people who don't matter. Hearing Jensen's voice, Lulu struggled to cry out. Jensen, what did I do wrong? Why are you ignoring me? You promised you'd marry me. Jensen hung up the phone. Iris reacted as if she'd just heard a joke. Marry you? Where was this said? In bed. You're such a child, actually believing what a man tells you. Before you expect someone to marry you, take a good look at what you have to offer. Do you think a wealthy man with good genes wants to marry you and ruin his bloodline for 3 generations? He's just never been with someone like you before and wants to try something new. I came here to tell you to stop calling Jensen. A girl shouldn't make herself so cheap. But Lulu wouldn't listen to a word of it. Iris let go and turned away. Lulu focused her attention on me, lunging at me like a rabid dog. This is all your fault. It's you, otherwise. I can't understand why Zoe wasn't in that room when I opened it, but she was too frail. Even charging at me with her fiercest expression held no threat. I pushed her away and demanded coldly, when you gave my address to that creep and abetted him, how could you not have realized you were hurting someone? She gave a vicious smile. Who told that creep to be thinking about Zoe while he was on top of me? So I gave him your address. Seeing how cooperative I was, he let me go. This isn't me hurting anyone, sis. This is me saving my own skin. You know what, sis? When I was staring death in the face, I saw a different ending. Zoe was supposed to bear all of this. She didn't just show up at our house for no reason. She was meant to take the fall for me. It's all your fault, sis. You're the one who ruined everything. 19. Lulu fell seriously ill. Having developed anorexia from years of barely eating, her whole body looked like a skeleton draped in a layer of skin, gaunt and emaciated. She was a far cry from anything one could call beautiful. After Jensen ignored her, she even started having mental health issues. My mother cries every day, but no matter how much she tries to encourage her to pull herself together, she just seems like a shell of her former self. I knew she couldn't function normally like this. And her work contacts started coming directly to me. I handle some of her work tasks for her. Even though the company assigned her an assistant, she always says she finds me easier to work with. I could tell at a glance that the contract was problematic when we signed it, but I didn't say a word. So even now, with my sister suffering a mental breakdown, she still has to work, because as long as she's alive, my sister is bound to this company for 5 years. Or she'll have to pay a hefty penalty for breach of contract. When I told my mom about it, her first instinct upon hearing about the massive penalty was to tell me to figure something out. I've already checked with her company. We should keep posting the videos and photos. If she can't manage it herself, I can always step in and help. Will it even make any money? My mom asked, then shook her head after seeing Lulu's current state. Even I can hardly bear to look at her. How could it possibly be profitable? Forget it. Just go ahead and do it. She was completely disheartened. At this point, as long as she didn't lose money, she was willing to agree to anything. She thought Lulu couldn't make any money looking like that, but she sorely underestimated the internet. With her existing fan base, there will always be people drawn by morbid curiosity, ready to give her traffic for this complete regression into a baby-like state. After all, in my past life, after I died, my mother took the fall for Lulu, and the case garnered widespread attention. Lulu even milked that whole incident by going live online to play the victim. I lost 2 family members overnight. I don't know how to go on living. Can anyone help me? By playing the victim, she managed to garner another wave of sympathy from netizens. In this era where traffic is king, striking it rich isn't impossible, if you're shameless enough. As for the money that was made, it all ended up in my pocket, of course. Every debt has its debtor, and every score must be settled. What goes around comes around. 20. After Lulu proved to be a disappointment, my mother finally turned her attention to me. She began to pin her hopes on me finding a wealthy, good husband, hoping it would be her ticket out of this miserable life. Little does she know, I don't need to rely on a man at all. I'm already plenty wealthy on my own. I haven't touched a single penny I earned from Lulu. I've saved it all for Zoe. The money I make now comes entirely from my investments. Given that I've been reborn, it would be a waste not to use this cheat code to get rich. Of course, the greatest blessing of all is that in this life, Zoe is alive and well. Just like any ordinary day, I was walking her home from school, hand in hand, as Zoe chattered away about what happened at school. Auntie, a boy in my class said today that I always wear pants and that I'm a tomboy. He said girls should wear dresses to be cute. I asked, and then what happened? Zoe crooked a finger. I punched him back. I couldn't help but laugh. Then he said girls shouldn't hit people, she said indignantly, so I kicked him again, and then he shut up. Well done, because there's no need to live up to other people's expectations. You're overweight, you're too dark, you're not young enough, so what? None of your business. Lulu cares way too much about what others think of her appearance. But you can never really know who the people are that are dictating your life and tastes. After all, they might be hunters trying to mold you into what they want to see, and you, the prey waiting to be captured. Story 2. On New Year's Eve, my notoriously stingy grandmother surprisingly gave me a red envelope. She specifically told me to place it under my pillow to ensure a safe and prosperous year ahead, but as soon as she turned away, Leo rushed over and kicked me hard. How dare you, you bitch. Take a red envelope. Don't you know this whole house belongs to me? I held back the pain, put on a smile, and handed the red envelope to Leo. Grandma, since you want to be young again, I'll just turn back the clock for you. My little white shoes, which I rewarded myself with before the new year, are now covered in Leo's footprints. He'd just been playing in the mud with the other kids, and the soles of his feet were caked with dirt. Hey, you, still not coming in to help? Do you expect me to serve you on a silver platter? Before I could even wipe my shoes with a wet wipe, my mom grabbed me by the ear and dragged me into the kitchen. Without even looking up, Grandma snapped impatiently, your brother's playing in the front room. As a woman, you should be in here cooking. How do you not get that? I've taught you nothing. The next second, she was all smiles, taking the freshly steamed buns outside to give to Leo. It was a complete contrast to how they treated me. 1. As soon as I walked in, my mom just sat there scrolling through her phone, watching me like a hawk. Before I could even get a proper grip on the spatula, my grandmother slapped me across the face. She hit me with such force that I stumbled back against the stove and banged into the corner. In an instant, my forehead turned black and blue. Grandma threw the red envelope in my face and screamed, "You don't appreciate the gift I gave you. How dare you give it to your brother? I'll beat you to death." With that, she grabbed a wooden stick and started whipping me, each strike harder than the last, until my skin was torn and bleeding. But this pain was nothing compared to my past life, racked with disease, organ failure, and finally being thrown into the back mountains to be torn apart by wild wolves. My family favored sons over daughters, so they named me Lux. Before my brother was born, I had to wear my grandmother's worn-out hand-me-downs, barely enough to cover myself. After my brother was born, my small bed was moved from my parents' room to the hallway outside. Every night, I could only huddle under a thin blanket, clenching my teeth tightly to keep myself from making a sound, because if I made a single sound, Grandma would blame me for disturbing my younger brother. Beat me severely, and then lock me in the pitch-dark woodshed. This year was the first time in 20 years that I received a red envelope from Grandma. My younger brother came to demand it from me just like in the past, but I thought Grandma was finally changing and starting to treat me better, so I desperately protected that red envelope, letting my brother call his friends to surround me and throw stones at me without ever letting go. I followed my grandmother's advice and solemnly placed the red envelope under my pillow. 3 days later, I started experiencing frequent shortness of breath. A month later, I was diagnosed with cancer, and my organs gradually began to fail. Since I was pulled out of junior high to work before finishing my studies, I had managed to save up some money. It's just that Mom has all of it. I knelt down and kept kowtowing, begging them to give me my money so I could get treatment. I'm only 20, I don't want to die, but they looked at me with cold contempt and said, your money, all the family's money should go to your brother. If you're going to die, do it somewhere far away, not in this house. Your brother has his high school entrance exams tomorrow. Don't bring this bad luck on us. I passed out right at the doorstep. When I came to, my parents and grandmother were dragging me toward the back mountain. My back burned with pain, and the ground was smeared with my blood. They carelessly tossed me into an animal trap. The scent of blood drew a pack of wolves, and they tore me apart alive. Only after death did I realize that red envelope was my grandmother's attempt to trade her life for mine. She was the one with cancer, craving a healthy young body, and so she set her sights on me. Just because I'm a girl, I'm supposed to die for it. I desperately want to slam a ladle into my grandmother's head, but it's not the right time yet. I can only suppress the overwhelming hatred in my heart and pick up the red envelope from the ground. Sorry, Grandma. I'll make sure to keep the red envelope you gave me safe. Meanwhile, I added silently in my mind, yeah, right. Seeing this, Grandma finally nodded in satisfaction and let me start cooking. After a busy morning, I helped my mom bring the dishes to the table. Just as I set the rice cooker on the table, Grandma grabbed my mother and pulled her inside, then shoved me away. Before I could react, I was locked outside. How much money did you even contribute this year? You don't deserve to eat New Year's Eve dinner. Go eat yesterday's leftovers in the woodshed. Only moments later, the kitchen door was kicked open with a loud bang. Leo kicked over my bowl and chopsticks, then pointed at me with a sneer. Are you fucking asking for a beating? How dare you ask Grandma for a red envelope? Do you even think you deserve it? Leo always loved to show off as a big spender around his friends, and even in our past life, he tried every trick to get that red envelope back from me. Seeing that I didn't respond, Leo spat at me. I quickly pulled out the red envelope and blocked his spit. Of course I won't take this red envelope. After all, everything in our family will be Leo's someday. I'm giving it to you. Tuck it under your pillow tonight. And make sure Grandma doesn't see it. Leo finally gave me an approving once-over and snorted. Smart move. I finally breathed a sigh of relief after following Leo back to his room and watching him secretly stash the red envelope under his pillow. Grandma, since you're so concerned about staying healthy, then I'll make your New Year's wish come true. I'm about 5'3", and due to years of scrimping and saving, I weigh only 88 pounds, looking quite frail. Meanwhile, Leo is just 12 years old but already stands at 5'7" and weighs a staggering 220 pounds. I hope Grandma likes the New Year's gift I got her. That night, everyone was expected to keep vigil. For the first time ever, Grandma worried I might catch a chill and invited me inside to warm by the fire. After all these years working away, you must have saved up quite a bit in your bank account, right? Leo is about to start middle school, and the school requires a 100,000 yuan construction fee. As his older sister, you can't possibly offer nothing, can you? School donation fee. It's all because Leo's grades were so poor he couldn't get into a public middle school, so they had to shove him into a tuition-based private school. I actually passed the exam back then, but they locked me at home and tore up my admission letter. Even when I cried myself hoarse, all they did was say, "What's so great about reading? A woman's virtue lies in her lack of talent." Not only do they want my money, but they want my life too, as if such a perfect deal exists in this world. I waved my hand dismissively and said, I don't have any money. I've been handing over my salary to my mom all these years. They clearly know all about this, yet they still try to squeeze more out of me. Mom glanced at Dad and Grandma, wiping away her tears with a sense of grievance. We still need to buy seeds and fertilizer this spring. And that little bit of money is nowhere near enough for Leo's school construction fee. Dad is lazy and does nothing, leaving only Grandma and Mom to till the land, barely making ends meet. The money for Dad's gambling and Leo's schooling was slowly squeezed out of me. Bit by bit, Dad was convinced I was hiding something and immediately tried to lock me outside again, but Grandma stopped them. Perhaps she thought that after tonight she could gradually swap bodies with me, and didn't want me to get sick at this critical moment. Her kindly smile sent chills down my spine. Since we're keeping vigil tonight, don't keep opening and closing things. It's bad luck. Who knows what those gossips might start saying about us. Dad didn't think much of the first part, but he reluctantly nodded after hearing Grandma's follow-up remark. The 3 days passed quickly, but the exhaustion caught up with me and I couldn't stop coughing. Mom and Dad just told me to stay away so I wouldn't get my little brother sick, but Grandma actually gave me a few rare smiles. During lunch, Leo slammed a stack of medical reports on the dining table. Grandma, how could you get cancer? My friends say this disease is incurable, and it'll cost a fortune. Just don't bother getting treatment, otherwise, there won't be any money left for my future wedding. Of course, I was the one who subtly prompted Leo to dig up these documents. Even though Leo's words were so hurtful, Grandma's face still beamed with a doting smile. Grandma's cancer will heal on its own. Don't worry, Leo. I'll earn the money for your future wedding, too. Leo looked at his grandmother with confusion and suddenly started coughing. You'd better keep your word. Leo was panting heavily, clearly struggling to breathe. Without a second thought, Mom and Dad immediately drove him to the vet, a stark contrast to how I was just locked away in my past life. After the checkup, the vet found only mild organ deterioration and, considering Leo's size, advised my parents to cut back on his food and make sure he gets more exercise. My dad slapped me across the face. Go pay the bill now, and stop cooking greasy food these days. Are you trying to kill your brother? I covered my face and pulled out my mobile wallet again. There was no money left in it at all, knowing they'd bleed me dry without end. I transferred all my money to my best friend Nancy for safekeeping on the first day I was reborn. Mom had to pay for Leo's medical exam out of her own pocket. When we got home, Grandma rushed over, anxiously asking all sorts of questions, but Dad noticed something different about Grandma. Mom, you seem to have put on a little weight recently, maybe even grown a bit taller. Grandma had a thin, pointed face with sunken cheeks, standing only about 5 feet tall. Years of hard labor had left her with a hunched back. Now, her cheeks are fuller and more rounded, her back is no longer hunched, and she looks vibrant and energetic. Grandma gave me a meaningful look as I coughed beside her, then broke into a wide grin. I recently met a miracle doctor, she said. Not only did he cure my cancer, but he's made me feel healthier than ever. To my surprise, Dad didn't seem happy. Instead, he cut her off impatiently, wasting money again. When I asked you for cash during our card game the other day, you said you had none. Mom, how can you be so selfish? Grandma quickly shook her head and said sheepishly, it wasn't much, really. In a month, I'll be making more money for you and Leo. Grandma's condition has been steadily improving. Leo has lost a noticeable amount of weight and keeps complaining about feeling unwell every day. Everyone just assumed it was a side effect of his sudden weight loss. Especially since he'd just been to the hospital a couple of weeks ago and was given a clean bill of health. My parents couldn't stand seeing me idle around the house, so they handed me a hoe and sent me out to help Grandma with the farm work. Grandma took one look at me, walking one step and resting for 10 minutes, and scoffed, you young folks are weaker than I am, absolutely useless. You might as well drop dead already. Don't even think we'll spend a dime on your treatment. I wanted to drown you the day you were born. The only reason you're still here is because I thought you might be of some use someday. I listened in silence, smirking inwardly. If Grandma knew the truth, would she still wear that smug expression? That evening, Grandma couldn't wait to make an announcement as soon as we got home. I'm going to start working soon, so I can earn more for Leo's tuition next year. Grandma is already 80 years old. Yet Dad and my younger brother show no remorse. Dad nodded and said, Mom, just go work as a nanny for a wealthy family. That way, you can sneak some things back, and I'll have money to play a few more rounds of cards. Although Leo seemed listless in everything he did, he still ordered without hesitation. Exactly, earn more. I need to top up my game credits. Seeing that Leo had already dropped from 200 pounds to 140, Grandma couldn't hide the heartache in her eyes. With nowhere else to vent her anger, she turned on me again. You jinx. Not only are you useless, but you've ruined your brother too. Grandma moved swiftly, slapping me from both sides before I could react. Seeing Grandma's slightly protruding beer belly, I knew the time had come. I slapped my grandmother with all my might. It's my fault. I didn't do anything. Are you just going to throw dirt on me like that? My grandmother was stunned by the slap, and my father's face turned red as he pounded the table. Lux, what are you doing? How dare you hit your grandmother? You bitch, if you don't pay me back the $500, I swear I'll make you regret it. That 500 yuan was exactly what he had lost to George at the village entrance yesterday. Dad and my younger brother, spoiled by Grandma, only ever think about themselves and don't give a damn about her, and yet, Grandma remains perfectly content with it all. I'm not putting up with this nonsense. I immediately stood up and headed for the door. If I don't get the money, I'm out of here in 3 days. I'm never coming back to this house. Just as Dad was about to grab me, Grandma stopped him. Looks like Grandma found the fake cancer diagnosis report I'd hidden in my room. She's got cancer. Keeping her at home is pointless. Just another mouth to feed. Just kick her out. The farther the better. We don't need that bad luck around here. The moment I rushed out the door, my mother's scream pierced the air. Leo, what's wrong? Mom, honey. Leo's coughing up blood. He's passed out. Leo was rushed to the hospital by his parents. I was also brought along by Dad so Leo wouldn't be without care during his hospitalization. After a thorough examination, doctors discovered Leo had advanced stage cancer. The cancer cells had spread to every organ. What's even more bizarre is that his physical condition bears no resemblance to a 12-year-old child, but rather resembles an elderly person in their 70s. The doctor had never encountered such a situation before and was at a loss about how to explain it to the parents. In contrast, Grandma's face had gradually become as round as a full moon. Though no one noticed exactly when it started, he's grown almost as tall as his father, and from behind, he looks more like a man in his prime, carrying too much excess weight. She gets winded after just a short walk. The moment she spoke, her voice startled everyone. Doctor, how is my darling grandson doing? Her voice was shrilly. It carried a raspy quality, like a boy going through puberty. The nurse didn't see anyone inside and muttered a brief remark. Don't worry, Grandpa, your grandson is still in resuscitation. Hearing the nurse mistake her gender, Grandma rolled up her sleeves and charged forward to argue. Mom stood up to stop her, only to be knocked to the ground by Grandma's elbow. People around were casting curious glances in this direction. What's going on? The kid's grandmother looks even stronger than his father. I just heard from the nurse that the child looks like an old man now. Maybe his grandmother did this to him. How bizarre. Dad's rusty, useless brain finally started working. Exactly, Mom. You were the one diagnosed with cancer, yet you're getting stronger by the day. How did Leo suddenly fall ill? With that, he lunged forward and grabbed Grandma by the throat. What the hell is going on? Tell me. To his shock, Grandma now possessed even greater strength than him. With a single shove, she sent both him and his mother tumbling to the ground. The two of them immediately started wailing in despair. Grandma finally snapped out of it and fixed her piercing gaze on me. "Where's the red envelope I gave you? Where on earth did you put it?" I waved my hand dismissively. "I've always kept it under my pillow." "Didn't you know that, Grandma?" She would come to my bedside at least 3 times a day to check if the red envelope was still there, so I had already prepared an identical red envelope with 100 yuan tucked inside. Grandma fell silent for a moment, then hurried out to make a phone call. Medical treatment and hospitalization require a lot of money. My mom's eyes lit up with an idea, and she decided to use the savings I'd given her for this emergency, but when she went to transfer the money, the screen showed insufficient funds. My dad guiltily looked away, and before Mom could say a word, he fixed his gaze on me. "Walter's son down the village needs a wife. You're not making much money working in the city anyway. Why not just settle down here and be a good wife and mother?" Walter's son is the village's notorious simpleton. At 40, he still can't read, can't use the toilet by himself, and always carries an indescribable stench. I wasn't about to let him change the subject that easily. "Mom, I've handed over tens of thousands over the years. How could it just vanish all of a sudden? Are you really going to force me to marry that fool from the village entrance? He's a full 20 years older than me. He can't even feed himself." Seeing everyone's scornful glances, Dad was shaking with rage, but he could only hold back from hitting me. Both he and Mom were still sporting bruises, looking utterly ridiculous. After scrutinizing the bank card statement, Mom burst into tears and started pounding on Dad. "How could you lose so much money? Don't you know this was for our son's education and medical treatment?" My father immediately grew impatient. "It's just a little money. Isn't Mom going out to earn money soon anyway? And Lux can still get married, can't she?" Before my mother could even respond, Grandma came rushing in, her ample flesh jiggling with every movement. Her eyes were filled with hatred when she looked at me. "It's all because you didn't take good care of the red envelope I gave you. That's why your brother ended up like this, you jinx. I hope you die a horrible death." I looked utterly innocent, my voice trembling with hurt. "Grandma, why would you say that? Is there something special about this red envelope?" Grandma met my parents' accusing stares and stumbled backward, her steps unsteady. She collapsed to the floor as if she'd given up all hope. "I don't know what happened either. That miracle doctor just told me to give the red envelope to any blood relative, and it would cure my cancer. I never expected Leo to suddenly become like this." Upon hearing that Grandma was the reason his precious son ended up in the hospital, Dad turned red with rage and was about to get into a physical fight with her. But since we were in a hospital, I quietly called the police, booked a ride, and was ready to make a quick escape at any moment. Leo was still inside fighting for his life, while Mom leaned against the wall, looking utterly exhausted. Dad and Grandma were wrestling with each other, both sporting some cuts and bruises on their faces. 3 bystanders pointed and stared as the police rushed in to break up the fight. What a spectacle! While they were distracted, I slipped out the hospital side entrance, caught a cab, and reached the station half an hour early. As the bullet train departed, my dad and Grandma frantically called, demanding I bail them out from the police station. I acted like I never saw their calls and blocked their numbers. My best friend Nancy returned the money to me and congratulated me on finally cutting ties with my parasitic family, yet a deep sense of unease lingered in my heart. What's the deal with Grandma's life exchange money? Did she really have no other shady tricks up her sleeve? Pushing aside all the complicated thoughts, I first rented an apartment near my new workplace. Even though it's a shared living situation, it's still better than being treated like a foolish wife back home. After arriving at the complex, the landlord told me my roommate hadn't arrived yet, so I unpacked my things first and then went out to buy a new SIM card. Since I've decided to leave the past behind, I really don't want anything to do with them anymore. I added Nancy again using my new WeChat account, according to her. Grandma and Dad have already tracked her down. Your brother has miraculously recovered. He's perfectly healthy now with a well-proportioned figure, not a trace of illness left. But your grandmother has lost quite a bit of weight. She doesn't seem as energetic as she was the other day. Grandma and Dad, I quickly asked Nancy, "Did you happen to see my mom?" Nancy immediately video called me. "Your mom? I haven't seen her around. Actually, she should be the one coming to me looking for you. Let me ask Peter, your fellow villager, about it." Hang on a sec. Half an hour later, Nancy told me that Peter hadn't seen my mom in the village for days either. Staring at the recent photo Nancy sent over, Leo's figure is growing more and more like my mother's, a slender build, standing about 5'3", and that forced smile, almost permanently etched on my mother's face. When Leo was young, he had a habit of stealing money and would always pin the blame on me, and my mother, whenever she flashed that smile, would punish me by making me go without food for 2 days and sleep in the barn with the cow. And now, Mom, do you regret it? It goes without saying, Mom's disappearance is inextricably linked to Leo's recovery. When I was little, Mom always dreamed that Leo would grow up to be someone remarkable. Every time she mentioned her son, her face would light up with a proud smile. And now, her son traded her life for his own survival. I wonder if she felt even more despair in her painful death than I did at the time. The carnivorous flower she nurtured with love ended up devouring her flesh and blood. I shook my head and let out a sigh. Honestly, I was more wistful than truly heartbroken. After all, my mother never treated me all that well. I still remember the look of cold disgust in her eyes when she learned about my organ failure. Her anxious expression when Leo fell ill stood in stark contrast. She brought this entirely upon herself. At dusk, I was cooking instant noodles in the common area when a girl dressed as a Taoist nun pushed the door open and entered. Upon seeing me, her expression stiffened momentarily before she crouched down in front of me, studying me intently. Is someone in your family practicing dark magic? You're radiating such heavy negative energy. She told me she was a disciple from Baiyin Temple on a training journey, named Crystal, and had been practicing at a local temple recently, but because she's quite the foodie, she rented a place in this residential area. I made her a bowl of instant noodles too, and she ate it with great relish. Crystal shook her head while eating instant noodles. There's so much resentment in your family, so many deaths. It's truly a heavy burden of sin. I know about this too. I'm not my parents' first daughter, just the only one who survived. There were 2 older sisters before me, but they were both drowned by my grandmother. That's why I've always felt I owe my second chance entirely to them. I gave Crystal the gist of what happened, but left out the part about my rebirth. After all, we just met today. I couldn't exactly bare my soul to her. Crystal listened with tears streaming down her face, her voice trembling with anger. How could any grandmother be so heartless? I really don't understand how she could be so cruel to us, especially since she's a woman herself. Nancy just sent over a few more photos of my grandmother. Grandma has started working at the factory now, but she still hasn't given up searching for me. They've already sold me to Walter at the village entrance, just waiting to drag me back. And Nancy told me this with a hint of lingering fear in her voice. Your grandmother came to me today and said she knows where you are. Maybe you should find another place to hide. Sure enough, just moments after Nancy sent that text, I received a threatening message from a familiar phone number. Do you really think you can run? You cost our family so much money. If you had just obeyed and taken the fall for me, none of this would have happened. You were always a worthless burden. I've shown you mercy by letting you live this long, and you dare run away. Just wait until we find you. I'll make you regret ever being born. I could vividly picture the twisted rage on Grandma's face as she typed those words on the other end of the call. Why won't she just leave me alone? Though fear and despair gripped my heart, Crystal reached out and held my hand. These cheap tricks are nothing I can't handle. Don't worry, your grandmother just bought some useless trinkets from an amateur, that's all. I looked up at Crystal in a daze, and her radiant smile instantly lifted the gloom in my heart. Since it wasn't time to officially start work yet, she immediately dragged me onto the train to Baiyin Temple without a second thought. Baiyin Temple is located in a village that hasn't been overdeveloped yet. The scent of sandalwood immediately put me at ease. Crystal grabbed my hand and pulled me toward her master's chamber. Inside the room stood a white-robed beauty who resembled Guanyin. With a sweet smile, Crystal called out, "Master." Her master glanced at Crystal, then pressed a hand to his forehead and let out a helpless sigh. My grandmother probably bought underworld currency. That kind of thing costs at least tens of thousands. No wonder she was in such a rush to find work. She must have been afraid debt collectors would show up at home and be discovered by Dad and Leo. But by now, Leo and Dad must have figured out what method Grandma used to regain her health. After all, Leo only regained a healthy body at the cost of our mother's life. The family owes at least 100,000 now, so they're desperate to drag me back and marry me off. I fought hard to escape. I won't go back to being their disposable bargaining chip. At this thought, my eyes welled up with tears. Seeing my pitiful expression, Master Crystal came over and gently patted my head. Spend more time absorbing the temple's spiritual atmosphere, and we'll use a protective array to ensure your grandmother can no longer harm you. The tracking mark your grandmother left isn't some mystical technique. She just installed a location tracker on your phone. Remove it and you'll be fine. The master's reassurance helped calm my nerves a little. I followed her advice and stuck to a vegetarian diet with Crystal for several days, then devoted myself to chanting scriptures and burning incense at the temple every day. Not sure if it's just psychological, but I've been feeling much lighter and more energetic. I haven't dared to turn on my phone these past few days. Before the ritual began, the master told me I must remain mentally resolute. I finally mustered the courage to turn on my phone and charge it. My phone was flooded with my grandmother's abusive messages. "You little brat, changed your location again. Don't worry, I'll track you down wherever you go. Found the tracking device. Doesn't matter. I'll get the miracle doctor, he'll definitely find you, you're done for. Do you realize your brother is turning into the exact wretched image of your mother? How dare you stay out there without a care in the world? Do you even have a heart? Even though I knew she didn't love me at all, reading those words made my tears fall uncontrollably. I threw my phone straight off the cliff. I wonder if that so-called miracle doctor of hers would dare show up at Baiyun Temple and walk right into the trap. After completing everything, I stepped into the formation Master Crystal had drawn. As a golden light flashed, I distinctly heard someone calling my name. They told me to leave this house and get as far away as possible. Then I saw Grandma again, shrouded in dark energy, her face twisted menacingly as she approached me. Two figures emerged behind me. They grabbed my hands and pushed Grandma forward, as an old woman's agonized scream pierced the air. I broke out in a cold sweat, yet felt an indescribable sense of release. Master Crystal looked rather pale, waved a hand dismissively, and retreated into the inner room. I silently knelt down and kowtowed to her. I finally overcame the dark shadow that had been oppressing me in my memories. The grandmother who always stood by my bedside when I woke from dreams, trying to strangle me, was finally pushed down by my own hands. From then on, I am my own person, no longer the weak, ineffectual Lux who was moved to tears by the slightest change in Grandma. What's more, Grandma's affection for me was like sugar laced with arsenic. Once the sweetness faded, only the bone-deep poison remained. By the time Crystal and I returned to our rented place, the doorknob had already been pried open. I walked inside to find Grandma and Dad sitting on the sofa. Grandma was completely unrecognizable, with stubble on her chin. If it weren't for the floral-patterned cotton jacket typical of elderly women, I wouldn't have been able to tell her apart from the Leo she once was. The moment Crystal and I stepped inside, someone suddenly slammed the door shut. Only then did we notice there had been someone hiding behind the door all along. They had long hair, were bundled up tightly, and spoke in a voice both shrill and deep. "Lux, look what you've done to me. This is all your fault. Why don't you just drop dead?" Master Crystal warned that Leo would face consequences for swapping bodies with his grandmother initially, and later with his mother. Sure enough, his foul odor hit me the moment he approached, making me nauseous. When he removed his scarf, half his face was wrinkled and the other pockmarked, a truly horrifying sight. I took a deep breath, faced him directly, and pointed to the grandmother standing nearby. "Did I force you? Wasn't it you who snatched that red envelope yourself? Who sent this red envelope? You brought this on yourselves, yet you're trying to pin it all on me. Your whole family is utterly selfish." Grandma's gloomy eyes scanned me up and down as she declared matter-of-factly, "The miracle doctor needs 600,000 to cure Leo. Either you sell your organs, or you sell yourself on the streets. Don't even think about running away today." Crystal raised an eyebrow with a look of disbelief and sneered, "I knew your family had thick skin, but I never imagined they'd be downright shameless. The miracle doctor, by now, he's probably nothing but a puddle of blood." Upon hearing Crystal's words, Grandma naturally refused to believe it. She immediately called her so-called miracle doctor. "They're just those metaphysical scammers who specifically target elderly folks like Grandma. Their life exchange ritual also comes with side effects." Master Crystal showed me Grandma's tragic fate in her past life through a mirror. In just 3 months, her body rapidly decomposed, and she was ultimately bludgeoned to death and buried by her own grandson. Grandma tried calling several times but couldn't get through, then glared at me furiously. "What have you done to the miracle doctor? You've made it impossible for your brother to change back, you wretched woman." As she spoke, she lunged forward to strangle me, but couldn't even get close to my body. All those years Crystal spent studying talismans really paid off. She activated the talisman array, encircling both of us within its glow. Grandma shrieked in pain as she touched the golden light, her outstretched hand scorched black, and yet, she kept hurling threats at me. "Just you wait, you'll see what I have in store for you." The next second, her chest was pierced. She turned to look. The person holding the knife was her son, who had been silent just moments before. My father's face was smeared with blood, and he looked utterly deranged. "Mom, if we can't touch Lux, your organs are still good. You can't just stand by and watch your grandson turn into a monster, can you? Don't worry, I'll take good care of Leo and avenge you." It's almost laughable, really. My grandmother, who always favored sons over daughters, met her end in both lifetimes at the hands of the very men she doted on. Leo and Dad wanted to move Grandma out, but I had already called the police. When the police arrived, they found Leo, who looked neither fully male nor female, and of indeterminate age, alongside my father, who was single-mindedly focused on harvesting organs. The scene was so shocking that none of the neighbors dared to film it. They just covered their mouths and whispered among themselves. Because there was surveillance in the room, Crystal and I were completely free of suspicion. In fact, we were the innocent victims. They tracked down the so-called miracle healer through Grandma's phone records. only to find he was a quack who'd barely scratched the surface of medical knowledge. He'd swindled plenty of people before, but got what was coming to him, vanishing without a trace after the ritual was performed. Long gone, stone cold dead, Dad was sentenced to death. But since Leo was only 12 and just an accomplice, the court was at a loss over how to handle his case, as they were taking Dad away. He even strained to reach for my hand. "You can't let your brother stay like this forever. You have to make him change back, or I swear I'll haunt you from beyond the grave. It's not like we have a royal throne to inherit, so I have no idea where they got this obsession from." Leo, of course I won't bother with him. He had every opportunity and all the love from Mom and Dad, yet he wasted it all, never studied properly, just kept trying to milk his own family dry, with both my parents gone. I suppose I can finally change my name. I never want to be called Lux again, in the dead of night. My mind drifts back to that narrow bed in the hallway and the sting of the whip when my brother cried against me. I changed it to joy, full of life and promise. Crystal even gave me a sunflower ornament, hoping that the rest of my life would be filled with hope. Just like the rising sun, after working for a few months, I managed to save up some money. So I resolutely quit my job and started preparing for adult college entrance exams. I know it won't be easy, but I truly want to make up for my past and heal my former self. When the court released Leo, he kept calling me nonstop, still using that demanding tone. "Dad said I should find you the moment I got out. Everything you have is mine, and you have no right to abandon me." I coldly asked him, "Is there a mirror nearby? None of what you are today is my doing. Even your very existence was built on the suffering of me and our two sisters. Take a good look at yourself. What on earth have you become?" For the first time, Leo actually listened to me. After checking his reflection in a public restroom mirror, all I heard through the phone were his screams, a body that seemed to blend his mother and grandmother's features. He was no longer the spoiled little grandson he used to be. Everyone around him called him a monster. Later, I heard he cut off all the parts that didn't belong to his own body, muttering under his breath, "Granny, you wretched woman. I'm coming down to settle the score with you, but none of that concerns me anymore. I have my own life to take charge of." For months later, I walked into the exam hall with full confidence. This Chinese New Year, I'm definitely giving myself a big red envelope. And, story 2, at the marital exchange ceremony, both my sister and I were chosen as the Beastkin's contract brides. My sister spurned the declining Fox clan for the powerful merfolk, only to be drugged and heart-harvested when her merman husband was about to ascend as a dragon, left as a breathless puppet. Meanwhile, I who married into the Fox clan became their matriarch within 3 short years, sharing their eternal lifespan and endless prosperity. As my succession approached, both beastkin and humankind came bearing congratulations amidst the roaring crowd. My sister seized the moment to murder me with gnashed teeth during the succession ceremony. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day the clan chief let us choose our beastkin husbands. Without hesitation, my sister snatched the fox fur jade pendant offered by the Fox tribe and pressed it against her heart. She flashed me a triumphant smile. "Little sister, this time I'll be the one to become the exalted Fox matriarch." I accepted the mermaid's heart scale, masking the excitement and joy in my eyes. She only knew the prestige of being the Vixen clan's matriarch. Unaware of their expertise in brewing poisons and cultivating parasites within human hosts, the day of ascension would mark the sacrificial bride's soul scattering like mist, her bowels rotting within. When the beastfolk's marriage proposal arrived at the ancestral hall, the chieftain was leading villagers in solemn prayer to the mountain spirit for a bountiful year. The fox fur jade pendant and shark scale breastplate were reverently placed on the table by the clan chief, who then carefully inserted 2 wooden slips into the gold lacquer carved cylinder. After arranging them front and back, the chief cleared his throat, his eyes glinting with shrewd calculation. "Cora, Mina, you've been orphans raised by this village since childhood. Now is the time to repay that kindness. The choice is yours to make." Though the chief claimed to leave the decision to us, his gaze kept lingering on elder sister Mina's face. My sister possessed peerless beauty and a quick wit, making her far more popular than my habitually taciturn self. The clan leader clearly wished for her to pick the bamboo slip further to the right. Marrying into the politically dominant merfolk clan would be infinitely preferable to wedding some ailing fox spirit whose house was already in decline. Even I could decipher his thinly veiled suggestion. Yet my sister made the exact opposite choice. She decisively grasped the leftmost wooden slip and snatched the fox fur jade pendant in one fluid motion. "Elder," she declared, "I choose the Fox clan." "Mina, stop this nonsense." The clan chief slammed the table, his voice trembling with emotion. His true intention was for Mina to lead their villagers toward enlightenment through the Merfolk Alliance, using the Beastman's influence to protect their settlement. 1. But joining the fox tribe deep in the mountains would only bring endless suffering, yet my sister remained deaf to reason. She pricked her finger with a silver needle, letting blood seep into the jade pendant. The blood pact with beastmen was sealed, and our fate was irrevocably decided. Her smile grew radiant as she gazed at the blood-red glowing jade pendant. Little sister, this time, I shall become the supreme Fox clan matriarch. Her words made me realize in an instant. My elder sister has been reborn too. Our village grew in the contested borderlands between beastkin and human territories, under the protection of neither. To safeguard our people, the chieftain would offer 2 girls born under the darkest lunar alignment every decade. Only those with pure essence could successfully form pacts with the beastkin. This very tradition became the reason my sister and I were taken in by the impoverished village during the famine, when we'd lost everything. The day of my coming-of-age ceremony coincided with the ritual to forge the Beastkin Pact and offer brides. The Fox clan, long withdrawn from worldly affairs, wields diminishing influence. The merfolk maintain close ties with humans and possess the potential to ascend as dragons, their power growing steadily. In our past life, my sister scorned the Fox clan's weakness and impulsively wed into the merfolk, dreaming of joint ascension, while I married into the obscure Fox clan, fading into oblivion. My elder sister, upon joining the merfolk, grew arrogant and disdainful toward the servant mermaids, making countless enemies. As her merman husband was on the verge of transforming into a dragon, she was drugged and had her heart carved out, reduced to a breathless puppet. Meanwhile, I steadily gained footing among the Fox tribe, rising to become the matriarch who ruled the entire clan with an extended lifespan. Even the merfolk now feared my power. Upon learning this, the village chief led the people to build multiple shrines, enshrining me and the Fox spirits, offering endless worship and incense. As the Fox clan's first lady, I became the most revered figure in the village, standing equal to the chieftain. Meanwhile, my sister, now a puppet being, was forced to eke out a wretched existence in the shadowy basement day after day. Puppet beings cannot endure direct sunlight, having lost her usefulness. The once affectionate chieftain turned completely indifferent toward her, and the villagers never bothered to visit. During my succession ceremony, the village erupted in celebration. Gongs boomed, firecrackers crackled, and fireworks lit the sky for an entire day. Seizing the chaos, my resentful sister shoved me off the high platform. With a razor-sharp dagger, she slit my throat, then forced the most potent poison down my nose and mouth. Caught off guard, I died in agony as my insides rotted away. Cora, you worthless creature, I've always outshone you since childhood. You're uglier, your figure's worse. How dare you live better than me? You were born to grovel beneath my feet, even in death's throes. Her venomous words still echoed in my ears. Fate played its cruel joke. When I opened my eyes again, I'd returned to the very day the chieftain let us choose our orc husbands. To my utter astonishment, my elder sister had also been reborn, this time. She beat me to forming a pact with the Fox clan, fearing I might compete for it. She even sealed an eternal blood covenant by cutting her finger, leaving no room for retreat. As the situation became irreversible, the clan leader gave Mina a disappointed glare before turning to me. Cora, I can tell you're sharp. Seek the merfolk. Their influence can protect you. Accepting the merfolk's heart-scale talisman, I masked my exhilaration and nodded obediently like a pecking chick. In my past life, I longed to marry into the merfolk clan because aiding a merman's ascension to dragonhood would nullify our contract, granting me true freedom beyond indebted compromises. But elder sister had the chieftain's favor. The merfolk alliance was hers by default, leaving me no say in the matter. Now everything has changed. I can join the merfolk, apply my secretly mastered healing arts to help him transform into a dragon, and finally live as a free woman. Seeing me speechless with excitement, my sister curled her lips into a mocking smile. Cora, you don't actually think the mermaid clan is some paradise, do you? There are 2 young masters there. The eldest is strong and healthy, while you're marrying the sickly second son. Mark my words, you're in for a world of suffering, too. With smug satisfaction, she fastened the fox fur jade pendant against her chest. I, on the other hand, am marrying the Fox clan's sole heir. The title of First Madam will be mine for the taking. Once I inherit the position, you'll forever be beneath my heel, never to rise again. Her laughter grew increasingly manic, as if utterly convinced of her brilliant choice. Little did she know, the Fox clan excels in brewing potions and poisons, using human bodies to cultivate venom. At first, the host shows no symptoms, but their marrow is gradually consumed and corroded away. On the day of ascension, the bridal sacrifice's soul would scatter while her body rots from within. On her wedding day, lightning crisscrossed the unnaturally darkened sky. My sister and I sat in separate red bridal sedan chairs, hers being twice the size of mine. As the crowd ushered my sister toward her sedan chair with the bridal veil already placed, I had just finished applying my makeup and was about to line my lips. Her hand froze midair as she was about to lift the curtain, her piercing gaze locking onto me with sudden intensity. "Wait," she commanded. With the wedding imminent, the clan leader feared she might back out and thus indulged her every whim. He immediately halted the procession and asked with concern, "What's wrong, Mina?" To the villagers, the bridal pact represented divine protection from the Beastfolk clan, a sacred guarantee of 10 prosperous years. The chief's groveling deference filled my sister with smug satisfaction, her grin widening by the second. "The bridal palanquin awaits, but there's mud on my shoes. Cora, come wipe them clean." Before the echo of her words faded, the villagers shoved me forward. The chief weaponized tradition before the crowd. "Cora, Mina's your elder sister. Honor her as you would a mother. Clean her shoes." Kneeling slowly, I dusted her ankles with foxbane powder, just enough to worsen the clan's curse. A casual rub sealed her fate. Meanwhile, the little foxes in the wedding procession began yipping excitedly. Amid the crowd's cheers, she shot me a haughty glance, lifting and twirling one foot. Then she sneered contemptuously, "Cora, soon we'll both be brides of the Beastfolk. It's only proper for the younger sister to serve the elder. This is filial duty. I simply didn't want you forgetting decorum by having you polish my shoes." "Don't overthink it." I gave a non-committal hum. No point reacting. The medicinal powder had already seeped into her system. If anything, I should thank her for handing me this opportunity. As she turned to leave, she suddenly leaned close, warm breath ghosting over my neck as she whispered, "Listen, little sister, let me give you some friendly advice. The Merfolk kingdom is no paradise. The eldest prince's influence grows daily. Yet he secretly fears his frail but widely admired younger brother. If you value your safety, currying favor with the crown prince should be your top priority, but with your spineless nature, the kind that wouldn't squeak if beaten thrice, you'd probably take abuse lying down even if they murdered you." By the end, her eyes overflowed with undisguised mockery, radiating smug superiority. "Don't worry though, when they drug you, carve out your heart, and turn you into a puppet, I'll make proper arrangements. The village's insect breeding pit is dark and dry. Perfect for you to become one with the venomous crawlers." Mid-conversation, she patted my shoulder with slit-eyed affection. "After all, you're my dearest little sister, a vessel for venomous insects. What a truly special kindness you've shown me." I returned a faint smile, enunciating each deliberate word. "And you're my dearest elder sister. Out of concern, let me offer you some friendly advice. Becoming the head wife won't be so simple. In the days to come, who'll prevail? We'll see about that." Perhaps frustrated by my calm demeanor despite my impending marriage to the Merfolk, Mina shoved me violently backward, snarling, "Listen well, I've always been one step ahead of you. Cora, don't think the weakened state of the Fox clan will last forever. Your day of reckoning will come. Oh Cora, do enjoy your dream life with the Merfolk. I can't wait to see you groveling on your knees, weeping pitifully as you beg for my mercy." I simply hummed in acknowledgement, watching as she stormed off to her bridal palanquin. She's been competing with me since childhood, determined to outdo me in everything. Whatever I liked, she'd put in just to oppose me. Countless daily conflicts arose from her constant contrarian attitude. Essentially, she derived all her sense of superiority from overshadowing me. But the jealousy curse cultivated by fox spirits works fastest when planted in petty minds. The narrower the heart, the swifter the venom's backlash strikes. Who'll be the first to beg for mercy in tears? That remains to be seen. By the time the bridal palanquin reached the mermaid clan's territory, night had fully descended. By the imposing gate, several merfolk still in their transitional forms stood guard. I took a deep breath and firmly grasped their slightly slimy dorsal fins, compared to joining the fox clan that secretly poisoned me. Marrying into the merfolk to help the second prince, my future husband, ascend as a dragon and break our contract for freedom was the dream I'd cherished through both lifetimes. Now that this long-cherished dream finally came true, I'd be a fool not to seize this opportunity. Before I could enter the main hall, the merfolk crown prince, the very one who tormented my sister in our past life, blocked my path, arms crossed defiantly before me. The veil obscured my vision, leaving only his scaled feet visible. My sister, relying solely on her beauty, thought too highly of herself and refused to learn any skills. As a result, she was often bullied among the merfolk, only managing to intimidate younger ones with her domineering presence. Never the favored child, I endured countless torments under her schemes. To survive, I devoted myself to rigorous study, gradually realizing that even orcs had their vulnerabilities. In the dead of night, I'd steal into the mountains to forage herbs and battle venomous creatures. From initial helplessness, I mastered distinguishing healing plants from poisonous ones, eventually snapping their necks with ease. They became ingredients in my alchemical concoction. The long and agonizing process left my body covered in countless gruesome scars. As I regained my senses, I noticed those feet slowly advancing toward me. Galen, the merfolk crown prince with paranoid tendencies, scrutinized me with piercing eyes before recoiling in disgust upon realizing I was just a powerless mortal devoid of any remarkable talents. The guard beside him looked down on me with undisguised contempt, raising an eyebrow mockingly. Tisk tisk, who'd have thought that sickly second-yen Master Ian could still get married? Let's see if this auspicious wedding ends up being his funeral instead. Hearing the guard's words, the little merfolk surrounding me joined in with sneering nods. I stood my ground beneath the bridal veil, a silver needle slipping silently from my sleeve to rest between my index and middle fingers. Galen tipped my silence as confirmation of his belief that humans are all spineless weaklings, casually brandishing a trident to flip up my veil. The barbed tip of the trident gleamed coldly, razor-sharp. Had I stood still, it would have slashed from my temple to jawline. Calculating I had enough silver needles, I dodged as several embedded themselves in his limbs with lightning speed, feigning a twisted ankle just as he noticed. I crumpled to the ground. I knew Galen was ruthless and vindictive. No doubt he'd orchestrated Ian's illness. In our past life, though my sister lorded over the Yen merfolk attendants, she'd also helped Ian fend off many ill-intentioned servants. Unable to stomach the injustice, Galen schemed to drug her, carve out her heart, and turn her into a puppet. With no one left to protect Ian, he met his demise, leaving the eldest Prince Ian to ultimately seize control of the merfolk and ascend as their dragon sovereign. Countless merfolk who had once been loyal to Ian were slaughtered. I crumpled to the ground, tears streaming down my face. When Galen raised his trident in fury at my attempt to flee, I dropped to my knees in a desperate slide, clinging to his leg while wailing uncontrollably, seizing the moment. I scattered the powdered drug across his body. It's a drug that causes unbearable itching for merfolk, mild in potency yet impossible to counteract. Galen writhed in frustration, trying to pull back his leg, but the embedded silver needles sent waves of prickling numbness through his body with every twitch. Clutching his throbbing temples with one hand, he grimaced in agony as he rolled on the ground. Vile curses spilled from his lips while the fork clattered beside me. Cora, you worthless trash, a mere commoner like you dares lay hands on nobility. It must be your filthy human stench that contaminated me. Guards, flay her alive. I'll slaughter you both, you and that drug-addled wretch Ian. Galen writhed on the ground like a madman, leaving his entourage stunned, yet at his command, they sprang into action with practiced cruelty, bearing razor-sharp fangs and gaping maws ready to tear into me. You wouldn't dare. I'm a treaty bride sent by the human realm. Harm me and second Prince Ian will have your heads. As the drug's effects waned, Galen sat disheveled in the dirt, his hair wild. He snatched up a discarded harpoon and gave it an experimental swing. Ian isn't even fit to lick the boots of the lowest merfolk. What's the point of offending him? The merfolk kingdom will be mine soon enough. With a cold sneer, I bit my lip till it bled, then smeared the blood across my hard-scale armor. Suddenly daylight flooded the scene as countless merfolk swarmed out. Sensing the disturbance, Ian leaped forward with his supporters in tow. Within moments, Galen was overpowered and knocked to the ground, outnumbered and outmatched. Planting my hands on my hips, I slapped him across the face, spat twice in contempt, then turned on my heel to follow Ian without a backward glance. 3. As I was leaving, I remembered the silver needles and medicinal powder still embedded in him. With a haughty arch of my brow, I dusted off my hands. Mark my words, today you've been bested by a mere mortal, as Ian's pledged bride. I'll be his shield from now on. Should any harm come to him, you'll learn exactly what I'm capable of. Galen's cruelty knew no bounds. Who could count how many villagers he'd slaughtered in secret, even without Mina's vengeance to pursue? I'd make this butcher answer for every innocent life he'd taken. Walking behind Ian, watching his frail frame racked by constant coughs, I understood. This was only the beginning. Naturally, I returned to the palace with Ian. Just like Mina's fate in the previous life, some Yen merfolk secretly looked down on me. Though they maintained perfect courtesy on the surface, their deference became genuinely respectful after witnessing my defiance toward Galen and Ian's desperate rescue attempt despite his failing health. Ian reclined by the bedside, his lips pale. He gazed at me with a melancholic sigh. You should leave. I froze, completely baffled by his words. Do you understand what being a contract bride entails? He continued. I was on the verge of ascending as a dragon through cultivation, when suddenly, for reasons unknown, all my spiritual power vanished. The forbidden texts of the ancient merfolk claim devouring human hearts accelerates cultivation. Though effective, it's unspeakably cruel. Galen used this pretext to claim you, intending to aid my ascension, but you're just a young woman. Run for your life. Heart extraction, cultivation breakthroughs. As my eyes darted in realization, I suddenly understood why Mina met such a fate in her past life. Kind-hearted Ian must have warned her too, but Mina, blinded by insatiable ambition and seduced by Galen's schemes, betrayed him instead. Just as the cunning hare falls, the hunting hound gets stewed, in the end. The merfolk beneath her tore out her heart. Ian died in vain while Galen reaped the rewards, ascending the throne untainted. After piecing together the cause, I swiftly laid out the pros and cons while fixing him with an intense gaze. Ian, you know Galen's temperament all too well. Your sudden health decline might very well be his doing. He remained silent, skepticism lingering in his mind, yet lacking concrete proof. He had no choice but to drop the matter. In the following days, Galen would glare daggers at me whenever he saw me tending flowers near the palace grounds, but the moment our eyes met, faint fear flickered in his gaze as he kept scratching himself restlessly. Ian already had few attendants to begin with. To expedite diagnosing his condition, I dismissed even more servants, eliminating any potential spies Galen might have planted. I ignored Galen's sneer about the esteemed second prince's wife of the merfolk actually doing manual labor. Focusing even more intently on tending my plants, little did he know, some of these herbs were antidotes to cleanse Ian's residual toxins, while others were poisonous blooms designed to worsen his itching. Ian would always take my hand at such moments and retaliate with sharp words of his own. In my past life as the Fox clan's matriarch, he'd cautiously warned me about their venomous schemes, but I'd been too enchanted by their honeyed words to listen, as fate would have it. After all the twists and turns, we finally met again. Ian trusts me completely. Despite Galen's repeated slander against me, he still stood up for me when those young merfolk mocked and bullied me, even gifting me the most sacred mare heart crystal of their kind. The mare heart crystal is our merfolk's sacred treasure. Keep it with you always. Whenever you're in danger, I'll sense it and come to your rescue immediately. Every time I go out to search for new herbs, Ian always reminds me to bring the mermaid's heart crystal. He's afraid Galen might capture and harass me during my search. I clenched the mermaid's heart crystal tightly. All right, I'll keep it safe. You be careful too, Ian. You two might have maintained superficial peace before, but now he's completely turned against you because of me. You need to be extra cautious. The corners of his lips curled into a reassuring smile. Turning around, I saw Galen's face dark as ink, squinting his eyes. He resolutely shielded me behind him without loosening his grip on my hand. His towering frame completely blocked my view. Through the mermaid's heart crystal, I heard his soothing voice. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Watching him tremble yet stubbornly comfort me despite being poisoned, my heart trembled with a surge of warmth. As for Galen, I'll never let him off. I just need to wait for the right moment. As for the timing, it came exactly 3 months after I took up residence in Ian's palace. The Fox tribe and merfolk have always been close allies. Now that they're visiting together, everyone must attend to them with utmost care. No breaches of etiquette. We'll also need someone to oversee the proceedings. Who shall it be? The merfolk elder leaned on his cane, his gaze shifting uncertainly between Galen and Ian. These prestige-building events before other beastfolk clans had always been Galen's domain. According to the merfolk's strict tradition, only the most venerable elders should represent them at major public events. Ian was the obvious choice. His gentle demeanor and worldly wisdom could effectively dispel other beastfolk's prejudice about mere people having poor memories, but Galen, leveraging his brute strength, routinely intimidated fellow merfolk into supporting him. This silenced even high-ranking merfolk who originally favored Ian. Knowing his ruthless ambition, no merfolk dared oppose him, even when elders considered alternatives. Galen's threatening glare made them avert their eyes in fear. Left with only Galen as the sole candidate, the elders sighed in resignation. Just as the announcement was about to be made, Ian suddenly spoke up. I'll do it. The moment the words fell, Galen clenched his fists in fury, grinding his teeth as he spat. Ian, you're already ill. Hosting the Fox clan requires tremendous energy. With your frail condition, do you really think you can handle it? Far from concern, those words sounded more like coercion to relinquish his position. I smoothly intercepted the conversation. Then let me take over. As it happens, Lady Mina of the Fox clan is my elder sister. It's been ages since we last met. This would be perfect for catching up. Ignoring the warning in Galen's glare, I stepped forward with deliberate grace, my breath carrying a floral whisper. Moreover, from what I've heard, young Master Galen has been suffering unbearable itchiness lately, requiring 3 baths a day. What if this maddening itch flares up in front of the Foxkin? Would you have me strip naked right then and there, throwing all decency to the wind? Outmaneuvered, Galen could only fume silently as the elders naturally appointed me as the envoy. After the elder left contentedly, Galen slammed his fist into the tree beside me, his face flushing crimson with rage. Ian and I exchanged knowing glances, our lips curling into identical conspiratorial smiles. Go ahead, be angry. The angrier you get, the sooner that mysterious itching disease will flare up. Dressed in my finest attire, arm in arm with Ian as we awaited the Foxkin's arrival, Galen suddenly appeared, clutching a fox fur bracelet. He pointed frantically toward the palace glowing with flames in the distance. Sister-in-law, disaster, your elder sister came to visit you first but accidentally knocked over a candlestick. Your quarters are on fire. Let me accompany you there immediately. Ian should wait here. I caught the malice in his words. But so what? For, before the gathered merfolk, no matter how much he gritted his teeth in hatred, he still had to address me as sister-in-law for appearance's sake, the fox fur bracelet. So he's allied with Sister Mina after all, feigning surprise. I rose anxiously to follow his hurried departure. Ian grabbed my wrist firmly, shaking his head repeatedly. I understood his warning. This was clearly a trap. How could the palace suddenly catch fire? That place was perpetually damp and gloomy, and the return journey would take us through a desolate path. The narrow trail was fraught with wild beasts and thorny brambles. If anything went wrong, a mere mortal like me wouldn't stand a chance. Gently patting the back of his hand, I spoke slowly under his anxious gaze. Don't worry, Ian. Galen's the eldest. He'll protect me. When the Fox Tribe's beastmen arrive later, remember to explain I went to visit my sister. Ian suddenly came to his senses upon hearing my words, finally releasing my hand. Come back soon. I gave a wordless nod and followed Galen away from the merfolk crowd, while an unnoticed figure slipped away from a hidden corner. He led me into the woods beside the main path. I leaned against a tree trunk first, my expression dark. What's the matter? Couldn't wait any longer. I casually tossed a pebble into the nearby bushes, and sure enough, a shriek followed as Mina came leaping out. The two stood before me in unison, one brandishing a trident, the other flashing a fox fur bracelet, both wearing equally sinister grins. I underestimated you. This curse-stitching must be your doing. Cora, mark my words, you'll pay for this. Galen raised his trident high, eyes burning with murderous rage. Meanwhile, Mina beside him seethed with renewed jealousy upon spotting the mermaid silk gown Ian had tailored specifically for me. Though she joined the Fox clan, her living conditions pale in comparison to mine. After all, they're just stringing her along as a puppet. Why would they spare any extra resources? Ian's different. He lavishes me with every treasure at his disposal, jewels, rare artifacts, all flowing to me like an endless stream. Especially today. My aqua-blue mermaid silk gown makes me radiant beyond compare, while her hastily thrown-on white cloak looks utterly mundane by contrast. TCH, thought joining the merfolk would teach you who's in charge, that you cling to young Master Galen's coattails, but you actually side with that worthless Ian against him, dumber than a sack of rocks. Last time you drugged Galen on purpose, now you're empty-handed. Let's see how you oppose us this time. Galen knew full well that mermaid silk garments couldn't conceal any items, which was precisely why he dared to bring me to this secluded spot so boldly. He initially intended to attack with his fishing spear, but Mina stopped him. Instead, she drew a tiny venomous insect from her bosom, so small it skittered across her palm. This treasure was gifted by my Fox clan husband. Once it burrows into someone's flesh, the venomous creature will hollow out their organs until they waste away, never to walk again. I recognized that insect. It was the offspring parasite from the Fox clan's poison that afflicted me in my past life. The mother parasite must have been implanted in Mina's body. No wonder she could manipulate these venomous creatures at will. My eyes darted around as I secretly grasped the vine behind me. Oh really? You think you're worthy? Seems like being the Fox clan's lady hasn't treated you well. You've aged terribly, sister dear. Nothing stunned Mina more than remarks about her beauty. My jab about her age made her face cycle through shades of pale and livid. Her fingers twitched with barely restrained murderous intent. You wretched hag. Cora, how dare you? I've always outshone you since childhood. Even the merfolk I discarded aren't fit for you. Today this venomous insect will teach you proper manners. Mina lunged forward, trying to force my jaws open for the poisonous creature. With a sharp tug, I whipped the barbed vine across her shoulder, its thorns biting deep into her flesh. A sharp pain shot through her, making her instinctively release her grip. I dodged Galen's attempted sneak attack from behind and delivered a kick that sent him crashing right into the nest of venomous insects. My years battling poisonous creatures in the mountains while competing for rare treasures honed my skills to perfection. Dealing with these two dimwits now is child's play. I slapped Mina twice in quick succession before roundhouse kicking Galen to the ground, driving the venom deeper into his bones. As they both collapsed to the ground, I promptly stacked them in a human pyramid, one on top of the other, their disheveled clothes adding to the absurdity. Then, under their dazed stares, I covered my mouth and shrieked, "Oh my God, help! Cora, you lunatic, what the hell are you doing?" Ian's voice rang out nearby as a chaotic stampede approached. The ground trembled beneath me. I instantly recognized the arrival of the Foxkin and Merfolk warriors. I picked up the fox fur bracelet and trident from the ground, gripping them tightly before raising my eyebrows in challenge. You wanted to know what I'm about to do? Well, you're about to find out. I pinned them down with thorny vines, leaving them completely immobilized. With bloodshot eyes, I rubbed both items against my palms, smearing them with the blood of each captive. Only when I saw the eerie green glow emanating from the objects did I finally still my hands. The fox fur bracelet and trident spear were their respective weapons, undeniable proof that would expose their illicit connection if discovered by either orc faction. With blood still fresh on my hands, I fled blindly and crashed into Ian's arms, clutching his sleeve with trembling fingers as I shrieked at the top of my lungs. Young Master Galen claimed my sister accidentally knocked over the candlestick during her visit, but they were actually trying to silence me, because I accidentally witnessed their affair earlier. Save me, my lord. Please save me. The fox and mermaid beastmen erupted into chaos, especially with Galen still pinned motionless over Mina. His arms braced above her with crimson eyes blazing. What nonsense are you spouting, Cora? I should have skewered you with that harpoon earlier, young master. I know you've always disliked me, but sister is still the Fox clan's matriarch. Aren't you humiliating their entire lineage? And look, her blood still stains this harpoon. I hesitated before adding, everyone knows human beastfolk covenants require blood rights. If she was willing to, mid-sentence, the Fox beastmen exploded in fury. Ash, Mina's mate, nearly bared his fangs in unrestrained rage. His greatest fear was Mina forming a pact with another beastfolk and betraying him, that would shatter his ascension dreams. The merfolk elder nearly exploded with rage. Smashing his cane against the ground, he bellowed, "Disgraceful wretch, get out of my sight." The Fox tribe's delegation arrived with other beastfolk clans, snakes, bears, wolves. All witnessing this scandal firsthand, Ian sneered, channeling his energy into a palm strike to Galen's chest. The venomous parasite surged instantly, turning his face livid. A mouthful of blackened blood splattered onto the ground as he collapsed to his knees, swaying unsteadily. "Ian, how dare you strike me?" he spat through gritted teeth. "Had I not shown mercy back then, you'd have been dead from my poison long ago." He'd been administering a slow-acting poison to Ian, laced with toxic datura flowers, gradually eroding his cultivation base day by day. The confession came unbidden, though Ian had clung to their past camaraderie, reluctant to believe the truth. Now he had no choice but to accept it. Trembling violently, he mustered every ounce of strength to deliver a crushing blow to Galen's crown. "Galen, I've suspected you many times, but I never imagined it would actually be you." Venomous insects began writhing beneath his skin, his eyes bulging grotesquely as the sockets hollowed. Ash of the Foxkin instantly understood. The parasitic larvae had already been implanted into Galen. To prevent further exposure, Ash led them into the inner courtyard with a host of Foxkin beastfolk. Under torture, Galen confessed every wicked deed he'd ever committed, including how he tormented Ian and conspired with Mina to eliminate me. I circled the cross where he hung, battered and barely breathing, his body crisscrossed with wounds. With brutal force, I tore loose the already loosened mermaid scales from his flesh. "The powder I gave you won't just make your skin crawl, it'll make your scales fall off one by one. Soon you'll be nothing but a scaleless merman, reduced to the very mortals you despise." "Wait, no, not even mortal." I slowed my speech deliberately. "A merman without scales loses all bestial power, coupled with the venom's backlash. You'll endure heart-rending agony daily. You'll be lower than dirt." His tongue had been torn out, leaving his mouth a bleeding ruin that could only produce muffled whimpers. The hatred in his eyes remained undiminished. Galen and Mina's affair was an open secret. After I orchestrated its exposure, Ian became the sole viable successor. Even as Ash dragged Mina away, she spat venomously. "Mark my words, Cora, you'll pay for this." Her fingernails had turned violet, a telltale sign the Fox clan's venom had seeped into her marrow. I caught a glimpse of crimson blisters forming along her jawline, so the poison's finally taking effect. On the day Galen's heart was torn out, Ian sat motionless on the stone throne for hours, his fluttering lashes like butterfly wings. "Cora, you know what? Back then, I genuinely believed Galen had my best interests at heart." I hesitated for a long moment before carefully replying, "What I'm more curious about is why you chose to trust an outsider like me back then." He must have known the old saying, "Those not of our kind can never share our loyalties." Ian tilted his head up with a sly smile. "Don't you remember, long ago, a little girl slayed venomous creatures in the mountains? I was just a reckless youth then, lost while playing in the hills, until you rescued me and led me home. Otherwise I'd have been dead from a snakebite long ago." He rolled up his sleeve to show me 2 tiny fang marks on his wrist. It suddenly dawned on me, back when I was just a kid who didn't know how to treat venom, I'd come across a sobbing boy sitting beside a poisonous snake. I immediately sucked out the venom, but bit down too hard and left teeth marks on his wrist. "I never imagined we shared this kind of connection," Ian continued. "I always wanted to marry you, but in my dreams you became the Fox clan's matriarch. No matter how I tried to reach you, it was impossible. So when Galen told me the contract bride was you, I knew it was a trap but agreed anyway." This was my selfish desire. I'm sorry, Cora, I dragged you into this. The mermaid's heart crystal began to quiver faintly. I recognized this as his guilt manifesting. Suddenly I remembered that time when I was nearly killed by Galen. It was the mermaid's heart crystal that delivered the warning just in time to save me. 5. I shook my head. It's not your fault. I chose this willingly. Without him, I might have repeated the same mistakes as my past life. Only by living this second life did I realize I'd always been the one he wanted to marry. At Ian's succession ceremony, Mina clung to Ash of the Fox clan with triumphant gleam in her eyes, as if taunting me wordlessly. What does it matter if you used Galen against me? Ash still trusts me. I'll become the Fox clan's first lady soon enough. Her pallid complexion only accentuated her ethereal allure. The Fox clan's secret poison had one telltale effect. It enhanced the victim's beauty to cloud judgment. In my past life, this very trick had blinded me until it was too late, counting the days. Without the offspring parasite, the mother parasite will only grow more voracious and draining nutrients from its host. Mina probably doesn't have long to live. My heart softened after all, and I gently advised. The Fox clan isn't as wonderful as you imagine. Mina spat venomously. Ha. I know you're jealous that my life's better than yours, that my husband dotes on me more than yours ever could. My kindness was thrown back in my face. I initially intended to let her fend for herself, but upon hearing the Fox tribe's invitation to their grand sealing ceremony, I immediately realized the mother goo was about to activate. Ian's poison was only neutralized by consuming Galen's heart, but Galen had been implanted with the child goo. If the mother goo awakened, its effects might spread to Ian as well. To eliminate all risks, I brought Ian with me to the Fox tribe's territory. Watching Mina standing at the center of attention, bathed in the spotlight, I felt a pang of doubt. She seemed perfectly fine. Had I misjudged the situation? With an air of arrogance, Mina approached me surrounded by her fawning entourage. Raising her wine cup, she discreetly slipped several black pellets into my drink beneath her flowing sleeves. My sharp eyes immediately caught the anomaly in my cup. I nearly warned her about the risks of drinking while hosting the mother parasite. In the end, I remained silent, merely sealing my acupuncture points during the toast to avoid ingesting the tainted wine. In a flash, Ash the Fox revealed her nine-tailed true form, seizing Mina by the throat as they soared into the air. Ha, the mother goo has finally matured. Now our Fox clan shall ascend, and all beast folk will grovel beneath our feet. The ground suddenly began trembling violently, making it nearly impossible to stand. I watched helplessly as Mina weakly flailed her limbs, the fox fur bracelet slipping from her fingers like falling petals. Damn it, Ash is ascending by draining the power of all orcs present. Soon Ian, the Fox tribe, and the merfolk will all be turned into puppets. Sensing the disturbance through the mermaid heart crystal, Ian dashed forward, materializing a long sword to engage in fierce combat. As Mina was violently thrown and about to hit the ground, she still managed to hurl a crescent-shaped dart at me. I turned my head, caught it midair, and flung it right back. A gaping hole had been torn straight through her chest, her entire ribcage hollowed out, every organ missing. Thunder roared as violet lightning split the ashen sky in two. Ian, caught off guard, was struck by a searing bolt. As the mermaid's heart crystal clashed against the guardian scales, I slashed my palm, letting streaming blood engulf them both. Heaven and earth converge, yin and yang invert, the cosmos shatters. A blinding flash drained the strength from my body, like an arrow loosed from its bow. I lunged toward the Fox clan's Ash and struck him square in the gut. Crackling lightning enveloped me, magnetically locking us together the instant he came flying at me. Ian's frantic shouts echoed in my ears, but I couldn't muster a response. Time blurred before my eyes fluttered open to find Ian's heavy tears splashing against the back of my hand. Still faintly warm, it snapped me back to reality. Am I not dead? Supported by his arm as I rose, I saw Foxkin and merfolk beastmen kneeling in prostration, pressing their foreheads to the ground at my feet while offering fox pelts and mermaid scales of varying hues. These are their sacred talismans. Cora, you saved us all. You're our savior. They're just showing their gratitude through these gifts. Ian told me how the Fox clansmen Ash succumbed to dark magic, sacrificing fellow beastkin to drain their spiritual energy for his twisted ascension ritual. Mina became one of the puppets too. Had I not broken the formation with my own body, the entire beastkin race would have been wiped out. He knelt on one knee, hand over his heart, bowing slightly. Cora, I swear upon my life that the beastkin shall protect you forever. Name your request, whatever it may be. Pressing a hand to my chest, I felt the strong heartbeat as I resolved. I want my freedom. Please release me from our contract. Ian was stunned. He'd expected me to demand becoming the orc chieftain's wife or the supreme ruler. Never anticipating such a simple request, he pleaded. Cora, please, won't you stay? The merfolk and Fox clans need leadership. You could be our queen. We'd all obey you. Wouldn't you want us as your subjects? I shook my head. Beast folk or humans, we're all equals. Having a ruler would just become oppression in another form. On the day we terminated the pact, Ian and I vowed to establish equal and amicable relations between humans and beast folk. When peace reigns over land and sea, we shall meet again. Story 2. I tried to stop my sister-in-law, who had just finished the college entrance examination, from going to the bar with the guy with dyed hair, and she held a grudge against me. The high-temperature apocalypse arrived. When I was searching for supplies, my sister-in-law locked me outside. I begged her to open the door, but she said, "You're an outsider. What right do you have to control me? Stay outside and get baked for a while. Consider it a lesson for you." My husband and mother-in-law took my sister-in-law's side and turned a blind eye to my plight. I died of heat outside the house I bought, after being reborn. I won't meddle in other people's business anymore. I'm going to survive. 1. Allison, I'm going out. I'm going to the bar. The college entrance examination is over, and I want to indulge myself. On the evening after the college entrance examination, Autumn was doing her makeup in front of the mirror. I patiently tried to persuade her, "Autumn, if you want to relax after the college entrance examination, sister-in-law supports you. But going to the bar with those idle people in society is not safe." My words made Autumn lose her temper instantly. "Have you ever been to a bar? How do you know it's not safe? Bah, you're such a bumpkin. Idle people in society. Do you think everyone is like you, always thinking about money? I'm 18 years old. I can go wherever I want and do whatever I want. You forced me to study every day before the college entrance examination, and you still won't let me be after it. What on earth are your intentions, Allison?" I treated her sincerely and cultivated her as if she were my own daughter, but my sister-in-law said I was just an outsider. Suddenly, a chill rose from the bottom of my heart. My husband, Ashton, habitually tried to smooth things over. He scolded Autumn a few words but didn't stop her from going to the bar. My mother-in-law took her side even more and said I was meddling too much. When the two of them saw through the window that the guy with dyed hair on the modified motorcycle took my sister-in-law away, they became worried. My mother-in-law turned around and blamed me for not keeping an eye on my sister-in-law. My husband also pestered me. In the end, I secretly followed her to the bar. Autumn, who had drunk too much, was almost taken away by the guy with dyed hair, but I stopped them after sobering up. My sister-in-law didn't show any gratitude. Instead, she blamed me for embarrassing her in front of her friends. After that day, the temperature rose to 70 degrees within just 1 week. The high-temperature disaster destroyed the social system. A large number of people died. There were messy, dry corpses everywhere on the street. In order for the 4 of us in the family to survive, I went out to look for supplies. When I came back, my sister-in-law locked me outside. I knelt down and begged her to open the door. She said she wanted to teach me a lesson. My mother-in-law scolded me, saying that I was too bossy and not virtuous enough, and that I should reflect on myself. My husband mumbled that he was caught in the middle and that it was my fault for not understanding his hardships as a man, and that it was good for me to reflect. In the end, under the scorching heat, I gradually lost consciousness, in a trance. I saw my husband and his family of 3 open the door. They moved the supplies that I had risked my life to find into the house, and I was like a stray dog, and no one bothered to take a second look at me. When I opened my eyes again, the thirst and the burning heat were gone. In front of me was my sister-in-law, who was putting on heavy makeup. 2. The college entrance examination is over, and I want to relax. Autumn was looking at everyone's expressions in the mirror while doing her makeup. I blankly took out my phone and confirmed the date several times. It was really the day after the college entrance examination. "Brother, my friend said he would take me to the bar to broaden my horizons. Well, I promise I won't drink." Autumn's nonsense woke me up from my shock. This time, I didn't stop her. My husband, Ashton, was whining and winking at me vigorously. It had always been like this in my previous life. Whenever there were words that might offend my sister-in-law and mother-in-law, he made me say them. He called it the art of a married man. I lowered my head as if I didn't see it. "Brother, stop winking at Allison. I saw it. She doesn't deserve to control me," Autumn said in a coquettish voice and pulled Ashton's arm back and forth. "Give me some money. I want to go to the bar to broaden my horizons." Ashton had no choice but to give her the money. Autumn happily rushed out of the house. The guy with dyed hair, who had been waiting by the roadside for a long time, stepped hard on the modified motorcycle. After everyone had gone far away, my mother-in-law, Diana, said sarcastically, "Allison, why are you so thoughtless? You should have stopped Autumn just now. She just finished the college entrance examination today. Is the bar a place you should go to?" I absent-mindedly explained. She wouldn't listen to me. How could I persuade her? Ashton had a dark face and impatiently scolded me. "How are you talking to our mom? You should have tried to persuade her. How do you know you couldn't persuade her if you didn't try? Do you still want to stay in this family?" Ashton shouted at the top of his voice, showing off his so-called filial piety to his mother. 3. Sure enough, Diana smiled triumphantly. "Ashton, it's not that I'm criticizing you, but a man should manage his wife properly. You can't be careless about anything. A wife is just a cheapskate." Once you let her have an inch, she'll take a mile. Today she dares to ignore your feelings, tomorrow she'll turn the world upside down. The old shrew kept fanning the flames. To show his filial piety, Ashton started hitting me. After enjoying the show, Diana stepped in to stop the fight. All right, stop hitting her. If you injure her, we'll have to spend our money on treating her. Let her go to the bar and keep an eye on your sister. Allison, be sensible. Don't make your husband angry all the time. Under the scolding of the old shrew, I walked out of the house. The cool wind blew, and I greedily breathed in the air. After the high-temperature apocalypse arrived, the social order collapsed, and the water, electricity, and the internet paralyzed. Air conditioners and fans became useless. I hadn't felt the taste of being cool for a long time. Allison, stop, I have something else to tell you, Ashton shouted at the top of his voice. As if afraid his mother wouldn't hear, he dragged me a long way. And then Ashton showed a look of distress and guilt. Allison, are you okay? Does it still hurt? You've been wronged, but I had no choice. It's all for the sake of this family. Since you were a child, all you've ever wanted is a home, right? Only when we're harmonious can we call it a home. I was an orphan, and my obsession since childhood was to have a home. In my previous life, Ashton's family took advantage of this and kept pushing me. I only woke up just before I died. Looking at Ashton's exaggerated performance, I felt like vomiting. I can't fall out with them now. To survive the high-temperature apocalypse, I need to prepare in advance. In the high-temperature apocalypse, the first thing I need is a hiding place. I took a fancy to a small courtyard. The self-built house not far from here was in a state of disrepair and had been vacant for a long time. The best thing was that I could clearly see my current home from that house, in my previous life. After the high-temperature apocalypse arrived, I was not only responsible for the daily life of Ashton and his family of 3, I also had to go out and search for supplies at the risk of my life. It was during the process of searching for supplies that I discovered the secret of that self-built house. There was a fairly large basement under the house. I guessed that when the house was built, the owner wanted to use it as a warehouse. However, it was empty, and I didn't find anything there at that time. More importantly, I could dig a well in the courtyard. In the high-temperature apocalypse, water is the most precious resource. Under the continuous scorching of the sun, the rivers dried up, and the ground cracked. It was very difficult to find clean water on the surface. If I had a deep well, I could live comfortably. As the night fell, the sales phone number left on the self-built house could still be reached. The owner of the courtyard was eager to sell. I made an appointment with him to meet the next morning. In fact, the formalities weren't important. After the apocalypse, everything would become ownerless. Contacting the original owner was just to get his permission to carry out some renovations. After finishing everything, I returned to my so-called home. When Diana saw me coming back alone, she was immediately unhappy. Allison, I told you to bring Autumn back. Why did you come back alone? I pretended to be weak and said timidly, I couldn't find her. Diana cursed, saying that I deliberately didn't bring Autumn home and that I wanted to harm her. Ashton took his mother's side firmly and even tried to hit me. When I was first reborn, I wasn't thinking clearly and took the beating without resistance. I definitely won't give in this time. I shouted loudly, wait a minute, I have something important to say. I found a place at a top university for Autumn, with just a few words. I made the mother and daughter believe that the good-for-nothing Autumn could really get into a prestigious university. The thing is, it will cost money. 5. After getting married, Ashton hadn't gone out to work. The income of the family depended on me working alone. However, all the money was deposited in Ashton's card. It was Diana's idea. She said that a woman shouldn't be in charge of the money, or it would lead to big trouble. The apocalypse was coming, and preparing supplies would cost a lot of money. I want to get my money back. Even when I went grocery shopping, I had to humble myself and beg Ashton for money, but when it came to doing something for the ungrateful Autumn, Ashton readily transferred the money. It's not enough. I'll try my best. When I said this, Diana immediately shouted that her daughter's chance to change her destiny couldn't be missed. She had some savings for her old age and transferred it to me early the next morning. On the pretext of greasing the wheels, I hurried out. I ran into Autumn, who hadn't come home all night. She reeked of alcohol and had hickeys on her neck. I first met the owner of the self-built house, paid a small deposit, and got the right to renovate the house. The owner had a crafty look in his eyes, and I guessed what he was thinking. It was just that there was no contract. He probably planned to renege on the deal and take the house back after I renovated it. It was a good plan. But he needed to survive the high-temperature apocalypse first. After dealing with the owner, I started contacting the construction team. I had a deep well dug directly in the courtyard. The water outlet pipe was connected to the basement from underground. According to my requirements, there were 2 ways to draw water. I could use an electric motor or a manual winch. When the money was in place, the workers didn't care about my strange requests, with the most important water source guaranteed. I started renovating the dilapidated house. I wanted to turn this place into a shelter exclusive to me in the apocalypse. I painted the whole house with heat-insulating nano coating. I installed a layer of heat-conducting silicone sheet on the roof. I also installed a set of solar panels. I didn't know how effective they would be. I pasted dark anti-peeping and sun protective film on all the windows and installed the sturdiest anti-theft net in the apocalypse. Human hearts were often more deadly than the scorching heat. While the workers were busy, I rushed to the wholesale market against time. No one knew better than me what supplies to stockpile. 6. Under the high-temperature apocalypse, the public facility system would collapse soon. There was no guarantee of water, electricity, or gas, and it was very difficult to get normal food. Moreover, with the high temperature and dry air, there were a lot of things to consider when stockpiling supplies. The first stop was the canned food wholesale store. I rushed in and started shopping. I bought all kinds of fish cans, meat cans. These cans could provide protein and fat and were hard currency in the apocalypse. I also stocked up on some fruit cans, but not too many. They were all in glass bottles and were not easy to preserve, so I could only eat them as a treat. Then there were the compressed biscuits in iron boxes. This stuff had a long shelf life and was good at satisfying hunger. It could keep me alive for a long time. Next was the dried goods store. I bought dried cowpeas, dried mushrooms, and wood ear. There were even dehydrated vegetables. As for the dried cured meat, dried chicken, duck, and fish, I couldn't do without them. These foods were easy to store and could provide the necessary nutrition. Finally, I bought a large quantity of dried fruits and preserved fruits. I went on a crazy shopping spree and filled 2 small trucks. I transported these supplies back first. There were still a lot of supplies to stockpile, and I couldn't finish it in one trip. Throughout the whole morning, I kept eating all kinds of cold drinks and ice cream. My insulin level was flashing red. On the way back, I asked the driver to take a detour and bought a batch of seeds. I wasn't sure if I could grow plants in the extreme high-temperature weather, but it was always right to be prepared. The seeds didn't take up much space. After unloading the supplies from the 2 trucks and settling the payment, I started the next round of shopping. 7. According to my memory and experience, in the afternoon, I went straight to the pharmacy. On the way, there were not only few pedestrians but also very few vehicles. The weather forecast said the temperature was 39 degrees today, but it was definitely over 42 degrees in reality. The situation was deteriorating, and I had to hurry up. I bought all the Huishengxingqi water, cooling oil, and Fenjujing, essential balm, in the store. I took as many as they had. The pharmacy wasn't a hospital. When the clerk saw a big order for common medicine, he didn't care what I was going to do with them. Beauty, we can transfer the goods. If you really need them, we can deliver them in half an hour. With the sudden increase in temperature, Huishengxingqi water became in short supply. In the end, they could only transfer a little over 300 bottles. I stocked up 2,000 bottles each of cooling oil and Fenjujing. While waiting for the transferred goods, I made a list of other medicines. I stocked up on Yunnan Baiyao, cold medicine, cephalosporins, amoxicillin, ibuprofen, paracetamol, berberine, montmorillonite powder. I stocked up on everything I could buy. I also bought a large amount of multivitamins and mineral tablets. These things could ensure that I could still get the necessary nutrition when the food supply was insufficient. I bought a lot of bandages, gauze, band-aids, and medical alcohol. I even bought 2 professional medical kits and 2 gas masks. The owner of the pharmacy was alarmed and asked a few questions pretending to be concerned. I made up a reason casually, and the other party immediately said they could deliver the goods to my door. After this round of busyness, it was almost dark. After storing the medicines properly, I dragged my tired body back to my home. As soon as I entered the house, I saw the coffee table piled with takeout boxes. Autumn, who had broadened her horizons last night, rolled her eyes and shouted at me, "Allison, you're a married woman, and you didn't come home all day. What are you up to? Look at what we ate at home. It's all takeout, it's not nutritious, and it's not hygienic. Allison, how can you be a wife? I just didn't cook for you 3 yesterday. It's not like I cut off your hands. It's already good enough to have takeout. In a few days, you won't even be able to eat shit. 8. I can't fall out with them until the last moment." I made no attempt to hide my exhaustion and patiently explained, "I've been busy pulling strings to get you a place at university." Autumn rolled her eyes and said, "Bah. Who cares? I can get into university on my own." With that, she swayed her hips and slammed the door as she went back to her bedroom. If she could get into even a junior college on her own, her family's ancestral graves would have to emit auspicious smoke. Actually, it doesn't matter whether she gets in or not. In a few days, that ancestral smoke will rise anyway. Diana, surprisingly, tried to smooth things over. "Look at how you talk to your sister-in-law." "But Allison, While getting things done is important, you also need to take care of the family. When Ashton's father was still alive, no matter how busy I was, I never let the three of them eat takeout. Ashton chimed in. Did you hear what Mom said? Let it slide for today, but no matter how busy you are tomorrow, remember to come back and cook. I was utterly speechless. Are these three people disabled? Before I married Ashton, did they survive by drinking the northwest wind every day? I kept reminding myself to hold it in, forcing a submissive expression. I said, I'll remember. I'll try my best to come back and cook tomorrow. After that, I started cleaning up the trash on the coffee table, as I expected. Although these three claimed that takeout was unhygienic and unhealthy, they gobbled it all up, not even leaving me a bone. Fortunately, I had the foresight to eat before coming back, seeing me start working. Diana nodded in satisfaction and went to her precious daughter's room. Ashton said loudly enough for Autumn to hear, It's not try your best. You must come back and cook. 9. After taking a shower, I went to bed early. The good days of sleeping soundly in an air-conditioned room are numbered. Ashton followed me into the bedroom and whispered, Allison, you worked so hard today. I feel so bad making you run around in this heat for Autumn's sake, but she's my only sister. If we don't take care of her, who will? Let me give you a leg massage. Looking at Ashton's exaggerated and flattering face, I felt a wave of nausea. Yeah, I won't stoop to her level. I have to keep begging people tomorrow, so I'm going to sleep. It was the same in my past life. Ashton belittled me in front of Diana and Autumn while secretly trying to appease me, and I was stupid enough to fall for it. Women don't truly understand life until they've faced death, ignoring Ashton's false cajoling. I turned over and went to sleep. I still had to go shopping for supplies tomorrow. 10. The next day, the temperature soared even higher. There was no trace of the morning coolness. I joined the crowd of aunts and uncles rushing for discounted eggs and was among the first to enter the supermarket. It's more convenient to stock up on daily necessities at the supermarket than at the wholesale market. Toilet paper, sanitary pads, toothpaste, toothbrushes, shampoo, body wash, hard hats. Insulated non-slip gloves, insulated rain boots, I bought them all, surrounded by a dazzling array of goods. I wanted everything in sight. The best part was the outdoor supplies section: knives, folding camping shovels, hacksaws, high-intensity flashlights, camping stoves, quick-dry clothes and pants, etc. With these, my safety factor skyrocketed. I also bought a large quantity of seasonings like soy sauce, vinegar, sugar, and salt. The newly arrived store manager led several employees to serve me specifically. They wrote down everything I pointed to, and in the end, it was all loaded from the warehouse. Calculating the remaining space in the self-built house in the basement, I indulgently stocked up on another batch of snacks and drinks: chips, spicy strips, chocolate, milk tea, yogurt, cola. I got a bit of everything, for ice cream and popsicles. I even bought a freezer and filled it to capacity. I figured that even if the power went out, I could devour these little treats before they melted. When I returned to the self-built house in the small truck arranged by the store manager, I saw Ashton constantly peering into the courtyard. 11. Allison, you have to explain yourself. As soon as he saw me get off the truck, Ashton stormed over with a dark expression. Is this what you spent the money Mom and I gave you on? That's a huge amount of money. It's all my savings. The driver and porters looked at us awkwardly. I asked them to unload the goods first and then pulled the sweating Ashton aside. What are you yelling about? Do you think getting things done through connections is as simple as buying something in a store? You just hand over the money, and it's done. After being deceived by Ashton for so many years, it's time I got some interest back. Seeing the confusion on Ashton's face, I continued to spin my tale. Ashton, we've been married for 3 years. You know what kind of person I am, right? You don't need me to tell you how competitive spots at top universities are, do you? Do you think the people who can secure such spots are short on money? I've been running around in this heat, doing menial work for them. It's all for Autumn and for this family. After some nonsense, Ashton bought it. I felt nothing but contempt for myself. How could I have let this idiot deceive me until my death in my past life? Go home first. I'll have someone install a surveillance system at home this afternoon. It'll be paid from this account, so we don't have to spend a penny. Don't go blabbing about it. As soon as he heard there was a freebie, Ashton's attitude did a 180. He hypocritically praised me a few times before leaving contentedly. In my past life, the three of you watched me bake to death through the peephole. Safe behind the locked door. This time, I want to watch you too. 12. It's not surprising that Ashton found this place since the self-built house isn't far from our home. In the afternoon, the surveillance installers arrived and set up several cameras with voice call functions in our home. I specifically chose high-end products. They have built-in battery backup and can be connected to a dedicated terminal within a 5-kilometer radius even without the internet. While the workers were testing the system, I could already hear Ashton, Diana, and Autumn chatting happily through the terminal tablet. This family can never get enough of freebies. Similarly, I installed surveillance cameras both inside and outside the self-built house. I replaced the door with a thick anti-theft door and reinforced it as much as possible. Once social order collapses, these will be the keys to survival. In the evening, the generator I ordered was delivered. By the time it was installed, it was already late at night. I had successfully completed most of my supplies stockpiling plan. On my way back home, Ashton finally called. "Allison, you're still not back. How can you be so irresponsible?" Irresponsible. When I married you, Ashton, I was still a virgin. No matter how irresponsible you think I am, no matter how irresponsible I am, I would never, like your sister, go to a bar and then a hotel with that guy with dyed hair on the very day after the college entrance examination. I guessed that Ashton was making this call in front of Diana and Autumn. Calming myself down, I replied in a steady voice, "It's all because of Autumn's matter. Currying favor with people isn't easy." Before I could finish, Ashton interrupted me with a roar, "Bullshit. It's not hard at all. It's just that you're incompetent. You spent so much money and couldn't even get a simple thing done. It's all excuses. Allison, since you like fooling around outside so much, don't bother coming back. The door is locked, and no one will open it for you, no matter how much you knock." From the phone, I could hear Diana's gloating laughter and Autumn's provocative remarks. After his outburst, Ashton hung up. 13. I sneered at the phone and turned back towards the self-built house. As soon as I entered, Ashton sent me a WeChat message. It was full of sweet talk and false cajoling. The fakeness was so palpable that I felt like my phone had been dirted. At the end, Ashton lovingly advised me to find a cheap hotel for the night. I snorted and opened the surveillance terminal. At home, Autumn and Diana were sprawled on the living room sofa, binge-watching TV dramas. The coffee table and floor were littered with takeout boxes and snack bags. Despite the mess, Autumn and Diana looked perfectly at ease. During the 3 years of my marriage to Ashton, I not only had to earn money to support the family but also serve them like a maid. It was Ashton's two-faced tactics that fooled me into not only having no complaints but also making me feel like I finally had the family I'd always longed for. On the surveillance screen, Autumn kicked a takeout box on the coffee table. "Mom, look how messy it is here. Why don't you clean up?" Diana didn't care and replied absently, still staring the TV, "Wait for Allison to clean it up tomorrow. They're all spoiled rotten. I wonder if they can still stand it when all this garbage starts to stink tomorrow." I turned off the surveillance and took a refreshing shower. Lying in a room filled with supplies, I felt truly at ease. The newly installed air conditioner blew out cool air, and I found myself oddly looking forward to the arrival of the apocalypse. 14. On the third day after the college entrance examination, the temperature became outrageous. At 5 in the morning, it was already 42 degrees Celsius. Primary and secondary schools issued emergency notices for suspension. Apart from those forced to work for a living, the streets were deserted. I kept racking my brain, drawing on my past experiences, and made a list. The items on the list were scattered, and it would be more efficient to order them online from local stores rather than buying them myself. Throughout the morning, dozens of delivery men came to the courtyard with my orders. I bought several boxes of ice-cold mineral water from a nearby store and gave 2 bottles to each delivery person. I also took the opportunity to advise these hardworking people to stock up on supplies at home, as the weather was becoming unpredictable. Whether they listened or not was beyond my control. At noon, the temperature soared to a terrifying 50 degrees Celsius, and the ground temperature was even higher. The apocalypse was drawing nearer. I stayed in the self-built house, enjoying the air conditioning. I made myself a bowl of cold noodles and indulged by adding ice cubes. The ice made from purified water had no taste, but I crunched on it happily, savoring every bite. This was the life. My phone rang. It was Ashton. I turned on the surveillance tablet and muted it before answering the call. On the surveillance screen, Ashton looked furious, shouting into the phone. His angry voice came through the receiver. "Allison, so this is your excuse to slack off, playing supervisor for others while neglecting your own home. I want you back here to cook within half an hour. Oh, and we're out of groceries. Pick some up on the way. Autumn wants braised pork ribs, and Mom and I want cold noodles." I glanced at the blazing sun outside and casually replied, then hung up. "You 3. Just wait at home." In my past life, at this exact moment, I would have been rushing around the vegetable market, buying different ingredients according to their tastes, and then going home to cook in a sweltering kitchen. How stupid I was. I muted my phone and turned on the sound for the surveillance. At home, the 3 ungrateful wretches were slumped on the sofa, looking at each other. Surprisingly, the trash on the coffee table was still there. They really can endure it. Autumn asked Ashton impatiently, "How much longer until Allison gets back? I'm starving." Ashton replied irritably, "Soon, she should be at the vegetable market by now." Autumn squirmed on the sofa like a maggot. "By the time she buys the groceries and cooks, it'll be ages. I want takeout." Ashton couldn't bring himself to scold his sister. "It's too hot outside. No delivery men are taking orders anymore." Diana chimed in, "Autumn, don't order so much takeout. It's too expensive." "Mind your own business, I'm ordering anyway." Autumn angrily grabbed her phone, but no one accepted her order. Diana looked miserable but didn't dare say another word. This old shrew only knows how to show off her power in front of me. After watching this farce, I let out a satisfied burp. Time for a nap. In this weather, not taking a nap is a disservice to myself. 15. I slept until 3:30 p.m. There were over 20 missed calls on my muted phone, all from Ashton. I called back, and he picked up immediately. "Allison, what the hell are you doing? Where the hell are you with the groceries? The whole family is waiting for you to come back and cook. Where are you?" I lowered my voice and pretended to be weak. "I had heatstroke at the vegetable market. Someone took me to the hospital. I'm at, well, focus on getting better. Use your medical insurance to cover the costs." Looking at the hung-up call, I thought to myself, what a caring husband I have. He didn't even give me a chance to make up which hospital I was at. For 3 consecutive days, I used the excuse of being in the hospital to stay at the self-built house. The outside temperature was becoming increasingly terrifying. Tomorrow, it would reach 70 degrees Celsius, marking the official arrival of the apocalypse. These past few days, when I was bored, I'd watch the surveillance footage of home. It was quite entertaining. Without me around, Diana became my replacement. The old shrew was forced by her children to go to the vegetable market. She could have bought more groceries and stocked up, but she thought it was too expensive and only bought enough for one day. On the 7th day after the college entrance examination, home ran out of food again. I woke up early in the morning, sweating from the heat, even though I had set the air conditioner to 16 degrees Celsius. It was barely effective against the extreme heat. The sun outside glowed an unnatural red, as if it were about to set the entire earth ablaze. The trees lining the streets had all withered and died. The roads were constantly cracking due to the heat. There was no one in sight outside. I rushed to the basement and turned on the air conditioner, finally feeling some relief. My phone rang. To my surprise, it was Autumn. 16. I quickly turned on the surveillance screen and answered the call. "Sister-in-law, I miss you." Autumn's overly sweet voice made me shiver. I don't deserve to be called sister-in-law. During the 3 years of my marriage to Ashton, Autumn rarely called me sister-in-law. Autumn was taken aback. Evidently, she wasn't used to me speaking so differently. "Sister-in-law, are you feeling better? I want to eat your braised pork ribs." This idiot could only follow the script. From the surveillance, I could clearly see that Autumn had put the phone on speaker, and Ashton and Diana were huddled around, eavesdropping. "If you want braised pork ribs, ask your brother to make them. He dotes on you the most." Just thinking about how I quit my job 3 months before Autumn's college entrance examination to take good care of her, only to be repaid with ingratitude. I will never forgive her. "Come on, what can my brother cook? I just want to eat the ones you make." Autumn continued to act coquettishly. "You don't really want to eat ribs. You clearly want to take advantage of me. Aren't you just a family of 3 who are hungry and too afraid to go out, trying to coax me, an outsider, into working hard for the Ashton family?" Ashton, who was standing beside her, seemed to sense something. He simply stopped pretending and snatched the phone directly. "Allison, where are you? Why haven't you come home?" I sneered. "Wait a minute, I'll show you where I am via WeChat video." I carefully selected an angle that could capture all the stock supplies in the frame. Then I grabbed an ice cream and started eating it while making the video call. "You're not in the hospital. There's so much food behind you. You even have ice cream to eat." On the video, the 3 members of Ashton's family looked completely stunned. I burst into laughter. "Why would I go to the hospital? So you can come and take care of me." For 3 whole days and 4 nights, Ashton only sent a few fake, insincere messages on WeChat and didn't make a single phone call. He was clearly afraid that I'd ask him to come to the hospital and take care of me. "Allison, is this the small courtyard you renovated? You're hiding in someone else's house, and all this food belongs to them, right? Quick, bring all the food back. Don't you know how sought after food is right now?" "Don't I know? I know all too well. Supermarkets, stores, and places like that stopped operating the day before yesterday. Some people couldn't resist going out to search for supplies. Today, guess why the apocalypse is considered to have arrived today? Order has completely collapsed. In my past life, when I went out to search for supplies, I never dared to go to places like supermarkets, stores, or wholesale markets. Even if there was food there, there was a high chance I'd get the food but lose my life trying. How could I just take someone else's things? I took big bites of the ice cream in front of the camera. Autumn and Diana were so that they kept swallowing their saliva. Diana hurriedly said, "But you're eating their ice cream right now." I tilted my head in pretend surprise and gave the ice cream a close-up. "You mean this? I paid for it." Yum. Well, taking big bites was too cold for my teeth, so I switched to licking it slowly. As a wife, your family is starving, but you're over here eating. Before the old shrew Diana could finish, I hung up the call, then I turned off my phone. Let them do whatever they want. 17 on the surveillance screen. The 3 members of the Ashton family cursed at me, but cursing couldn't solve the problem of their empty stomachs. Autumn called the guy with dyed hair hopefully, begging him to bring some food on his modified motorcycle. "Autumn, are you crazy? It's 70 degrees outside, and you want me to bring you food? We only slept together once, and you want me to risk my life? Get lost." Autumn cried until her eyes were swollen. She never expected that the love she thought everyone envied was just a casual fling. Ashton and Diana were furious but powerless. After shouting and cursing for a while, neither of them dared to say they'd go after the guy with dyed hair. Watching the 3 of them making such a fool of themselves, I couldn't stop laughing. This was more interesting than watching a drama. Speaking of watching dramas, I had to quickly download some TV shows and movies to kill time after the internet was cut off. More and more bad news was emerging online. Although the country repeatedly emphasized that it wouldn't abandon its people, the unprecedented extreme heat was beyond human control. In local forums and various groups, the number of people asking for help was increasing. This was just the beginning. As the power and water supply were cut off, there would be even more people driven to despair. I didn't have the ability to protect everyone. I could only protect myself. In my past life, I heard and saw too many examples of people who died because they were too kind-hearted and tried to help others. On the first day of the apocalypse, I spent the day watching the 3 members of the Ashton family cursing helplessly. On the second day, they started blaming each other. On the third day, Diana was forced by her children to go out and look for food. On the 4th day, Diana still hadn't returned. On the 5th day, with no food left and having drunk so much water that they vomited, Ashton and Autumn called me. "Allison, I was wrong. I wasn't good enough to you. Come back, and I'll give you a happy home." The trick that had always worked on me in Ashton's mind failed this time. I lazily replied, "It's too dangerous outside. I'm scared. Sister-in-law, sister-in-law, I miss you." Autumn finally couldn't act coquettish anymore. Her hoarse, crying voice actually sounded much better than before. "Sister-in-law, I wasn't good before. I'll listen to you from now on. You're the best person to me in the whole world. Please, come back." Oh dear, if you 2 siblings say things like this, I really have to reflect on myself. What made you 2 so sure that if I went back, I'd definitely bring food with me, with the intention of teasing these ungrateful wretches? I pretended to think deeply. After a long while, I said, "It's too hot during the day. Going out is a death sentence. I'll see how it goes at night." "Sister-in-law, I knew you loved me the most. Allison, you still love me. I'll give you the happiest home." Through the surveillance, I could see that Ashton and his sister actually started cleaning the house. I used to suspect that these 2 ungrateful creatures' hands had degenerated. At night, I stayed in the basement and continued eating ice cream. The air conditioner was barely working, but the freezer I bought on a whim was still operating normally. I froze several large ice blocks and placed them around me. The faint coolness was so refreshing. My phone rang. It was a video call request from Ashton. I answered and gave a close-up of the ice blocks first. "Allison, why haven't you come back?" "Sister-in-law, I've drunk so much water that I'm vomiting. I really can't drink anymore." I smiled and gave them a sincere piece of advice. "Be good and listen. Drink as much as you can. In 2 more days, when the water supply is cut off, you won't even have water to drink." The 2 ungrateful wretches finally realized I was teasing them and flew into a rage. I hung up the video. Let them curse all they want. It won't affect me. But on the surveillance, Ashton and Autumn started discussing coming to find me with kitchen knives. "Seriously, are you 2 being overly confident and underestimating me too much?" 18. The 2 ungrateful wretches weren't completely stupid. They knew to set out when the temperature was lowest, around midnight. Even at night, the outdoor temperature was still over 60 degrees. In my past life, I went out to search for supplies during this time period. That day, after the sun rose, I died outside the locked door. The 2 ungrateful wretches got lucky and actually reached the gate of the small courtyard safely. The low courtyard wall couldn't stop them. They climbed over the wall, but they were exhausted and out of breath. "Allison, open the door. Do you really think this lousy door can stop me?" Ashton shouted for a long time and then started smashing the door. The thickened anti-theft door I specially installed was really sturdy. Sparks flew when Ashton's kitchen knife hit it, but only a little paint chipped off the door. Seeing that the kitchen knife wasn't working, Ashton started playing the emotional card. All sorts of nonsense came out of his mouth. And Autumn joined in, crying and begging. Unfortunately, compared to when I was outside the door in my past life, their performance lacked much emotion and wasn't convincing at all. When begging didn't work, Ashton started smashing the windows. I didn't even need to use the folding camping shovel in my hand. Just shining a high-intensity flashlight at him made him retreat, howling in pain. They cursed outside the door until just before dawn, then left in fear once the sun comes up. People will die. I'm not kidding. The battery of the surveillance system could probably support the equipment for about a week. On the 6th day of the apocalypse, the power was cut off. On the 7th day, the water supply and the internet were cut off. Ashton risked his life to go out and somehow managed to get some dry bread slices. The two ungrateful wretches survived for 3 more days. On the 10th day, Ashton and Autumn started fighting. The cause wasn't about going out to search for supplies, idle people in society. Do you think everyone is like you, always thinking about money? It was all because of hunger. I simply turned off the surveillance. It wasn't interesting anymore. Epilogue. I stayed in the basement for 3 whole months. 3 months later, the high-temperature apocalypse ended. However, the way the temperature dropped was rather brutal. Hailstorms hit the ground without warning. Ice chunks the size of human heads fell from the sky and destroyed the solar panels I installed earlier. I had bought a generator in advance, but it seemed useless now. The hail raged for a whole day, and then heavy rain started. It wasn't until the 3rd day that the rain eased up, and everything returned to normal, everything except humanity. When I walked out of the basement and through the anti-theft door of the self-built house, the sun was shining warmly, and the breeze gently caressed my face. In the sky, there was a huge rainbow. It was so beautiful.